So Andrew was like was probably my primary training partner for the majority of the time I was training. I said, mate, like, people keep tagging me in your videos. I had no idea you had blown up. And he goes, his reply was, yeah, we're doing all right. And it would have been cool. Like when I fought for the Bamma title, that was the same month that Conor McGregor fought for the Cage Warriors World title, right? And so at that point in our careers, we were at the same level. I mean, if I'd have pursued it a little bit more, I mean, I believe that I could have fought in the UFC. I truly believe that. I believe now, if I come back now and I trained for 3 years, I'd be in the UFC. Yeah. So I jump up on this bar and I start doing pull-ups. I was like, 1, 2, like rounds coming around. I was like, fuck. So,
busy?
Yeah.
You ready for it? Have you done a podcast before? Yeah. Well, you ain't gonna be nervous anyway. You've done harder shit than this.
Nah, I don't mind talking. It's fine. How you boys been? All right?
Yeah, man. I'm good.
Man. Yeah, good day.
Yeah. Just finished off some running.
Yeah.
I've got a marathon in 7 weeks. I just done a half, that Luton half marathon last week. Yeah, I done it in 1:36. It was good. Yeah, this time was better. This is my third one. But it's just about keeping pace. Just staying in my own lane this time.
You just got to know what pace you're supposed to be running at, right?
Yeah,
rather than going too hard too soon.
Well, yeah, because the last year one was my second one. I was just running. I mean, every person in front, I'm like, yeah, I can get them. But then
it's a mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, but then,
massive mistake.
And then I never forget it. The lady, like, I must have done her in like, I think it was like 9 miles. And then in the last mile, she just come cruising past me. She's like, keep up. And I was like, I have got nothing.
Killed you.
What, did they all talk to each other?
Yeah.
I think because like, I was
if she wants to steal your soul on the way past.
I think because I was running with a group and I was getting a bit cocky, I was like, fuck it, like, I'm just going to bolt off. Obviously, she's been doing this and this is her game. And then, like I said, last mile, she just everything was perfect. In my head, I was like, my ego's gone, it's dissolved. You know, I'm just like, I can't
She destroyed you, mate.
Yeah. I can't even catch her if I wanted to.
Yeah, we call it stealing someone's soul.
Yeah, it's good life lesson.
Go past, make it look effortless, and just let them just die in the process. Yeah.
How do you train when you're doing it?
I just train a lot.
Just
basically, just
miles.
Well, no, I've got a coach. I follow a training program, but it's just being consistent.
Yeah, that's
like, and you have to, like, obviously, if you're going to do that sort of distance, you have to train often. Like, I train every day. I have done for my whole life anyway. So I'm training every day, and then it's just consistency, and then just hitting the workouts. That's all I do. Just tick off the workouts.
Do you weight train as well then? Yeah.
At the moment, I am. I'm back doing some, but during.
Say if you were doing it like, say if you were like peaking a marathon or something. What does the weight training routine look like? Because I've still been strength training. I don't know if it's good or not.
You can. It depends on your volume. Like if you're doing just running, it's fine. You can do it. When you start getting towards like an Ironman race, last like 4 months or something, the volume just kicks your ass. So when you're doing like 15, 20 hours of cardio volume a week, how you gonna want to do weights? So I'll just do like a little bit of like light stuff to try and stay injury free, or I'll just end up binning it off.
Stuff, yeah.
It's just because there's just no time. Then my missus is getting on my back, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay away from.
So for running, I could still strength train.
Yeah, you can strength train 100%.
What, maybe a week out?
Just like what I'd do is, if I was you, I'd probably up to a week out. You just need to split the workouts. Mm-hmm. Like you don't want to be doing them together.
Too much, yeah.
We just don't be doing them together. Like so, you want to probably have at least 6 hours between workouts, to maximise the adaptation from both. Otherwise, you're going to blunt the adaptation because it's basically a physiological response from the body. Like, so it's all to do with signalling proteins. Mm-hmm. If you do one at the same time as the other, say for instance you go for a run then lift weights, the response is dampened down on both. So you need that signal to cause the adaptation.
So what, like basically train in the morning,
train in the evening,
at night, yeah
done. It's a simple way to do it. And like if you're training for a marathon, the volume's not that high.
Nah.
It's fine. So you can do it. But yeah, when you train for an Ironman, volume's well.
We're looking it up earlier.
There's no hours to do anything. It takes over your life.
That's what we were saying earlier. I was like,
He can believe
it's
it.
like, what, you done it in 11 or you
this
done...
one I should have gone better this year, but I had long COVID at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So it took 3 months out of my training. So it didn't go as well as what I'd hoped, but like I'm probably around a 10-hour Ironman time. That would be kind of where I sit. But yeah.
What made you get into doing Ironmans?
Just something to do.
Mentality monster.
Just something to do. Challenge.
It is.
I like doing hard stuff, so I've always have done hard stuff. So
Because what is it? It's a 2.4 mile swim.
2.4 mile swim, 112 mile cycle, and then a marathon.
What are you strongest at?
Cycling.
Cycling.
By far. Running was my thing. I was always better at running, and then in 2013 I had like a big hip surgery. That's when I used to compete in combat sports. It took me years to get back to running properly. So, and then probably it was like 2018 maybe, or no, 2019. I was like, okay, I just had like, I was 2 years into having kids, and I was like, I need to get fitter again, because I was used to being like super fit my whole adult life, and I had kids, and all of a sudden it's just like no time to train, just knackered all the time. So I was like, I need to get fit again. So rather than doing like some, like book a like triathlon or something, I was like, I'm going to book an Ironman. That'll get me fit. So then I just got back into it. Yeah.
You just done it straight up like.
Well, just like yeah.
You can't really not train for it.
Yeah, no, you just
You can't, do you know what I mean?
If you don't train for it, you're gonna go and feel a lot of pain, right? Yeah. It was painful anyway, because the one I did was Ironman UK, which is like ridiculously hilly. It's a hard Ironman. So I knew it was going to be tough, but I was like, I've done tough stuff before, so it's just I like
day in the park.
It's hard.
He likes hard shit.
But I like doing it. Like on that day when I did that, it was like pissing down rain. It was freezing cold, and like loads of people were coming off the bike because they were getting hypothermia and stuff. But I was like, you know what? This reminds me of being back in the Marines. So I was fine. I was used to shit. I was used to being in shit environments, right? So I felt it didn't affect me psychologically at all, and I could see people falling apart. But
did it psych you up a bit when you see people falling apart?
Oh yeah,
of course.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, these men are like deteriorating, and I'm out here like, I'm loving it.
No, 100%. Because you know that probably like some of these lads are fitter than you, right? But they're
not mentally.
Yeah, mentally they're just not used to them conditions. Like no one cycles in the pissing down rain.
Yeah.
Like why would you? You just go home, right? It's dangerous for one. So if you just go, I'll just go out later or something, or I'll go on the turbo trainer. So when it's pissing down rain, it was literally like biblical. I was kind of expecting like Noah's Ark to pull around the corner or something. At one point. It was like it was that bad. It was like floods in the road and stuff. And I was like, this is shit, to be fair. But you could see it in people's faces. I was cycling past them. I was like, you know what? This is actually helping me.
Yeah.
Because these are all folding. And
so what's the hardest part of it? What would you say your hardest part?
I'm not the best swimmer.
Yeah,
the best swimmer.
Like, swimming's I'm the worst at swimming. I've got much better. It's not, but it is probably the hardest. But it's not the hardest in the race because it's done at the front. So you do it first. It's just nice to get over and done with. The hardest part's to run because you're already
like 26 miles.
You're already like I don't know 6 hours into the race or something like that at that point. So you're already fatigued and you're already you're already feeling it a little bit sore from cycling and
then cycling, just context, that's
112 miles.
112 miles, Jesus.
So cycling,
it's mental, isn't it? Like,
I don't, because I don't know. You just lose. I don't think of it as long anymore. You know how you just because you get used to doing something. So when I think of it, I'm just like, oh, that's just a
day out.
That's a race sort of distance, but it doesn't in my head. It doesn't feel long.
How long would the cycle take you?
The one I done in the summer took me 5 hours and 12 minutes, 5 hours 13 minutes, something like that.
112 miles. That's going to fucking like Nottingham or something.
So yeah, so like that's like
what was your
like
marathon
22.5 mile an hour on the bike for 112 miles. On a really windy day, right? So I'm going fast. Like I'm not going slow.
What was your marathon time?
Oh god, I blew up on a marathon this year. I ended up getting like get 4:13 or something.
Yeah, but bloody hell,
right?
man.
But I've the quickest I've done a marathon is like 3:15.
3:15.
But I haven't ran a quick marathon in years because I've not raced a marathon.
yeah.
So like when I was younger, that was the quickest time I did years ago. But I've not ran a marathon in like a race in a long time. I tried to go for booked for the London Marathon this year. I put into the ballot, but I didn't get it. Maybe I'll run for a charity. Maybe I'll see, but we'll see. I don't know what my season looks like next year.
Well, isn't it?
Marathon. Which one are you doing?
I'm just doing MK.
Yeah, ideal. When's that?
24th
Of
December.
oh, what is that? Is that
Christmas
the half
Eve.
marathon?
Nah, it's a
full
marathon.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
full
They've got-
one. It's 7 laps of that.
Because is that the winter?
Yeah.
Is that
it's
the same, the
diehard.
winter half, and then is there a winter full as well?
Yeah, there's
'Cause
a
I know
winter half and a winter full.
Oh, right,
It's
so-
all like the diehard marathon or something. I just see it and I thought, because I've done this half, I was like, it's too easy.
MK, nice. What are you going to go for?
You know it's going to be cold around the lake as well. You know it's going to be
freezing.
windy, cold, wet. Hopefully it's fucking snowing.
Do you know what?
I've got a 7 week, like,
It's a good time.
Yeah, I want 320.
320,
315.
yeah.
Something around it. Anything below 330. I think I've got it in me. This time I just need to put the volume up.
It gets hard. It gets hard.
Like my big runs this weekend. I've got 80 miles.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like,
You'll get around fine. You just gotta. It's just being strict with your pacing and not going out too fast.
That's
the
it.
hard thing. You kind of got to go out a little bit slower. And just build yourself into the race. But sometimes you can have good days and you feel great, and sometimes you don't. And then obviously for a marathon, because it's quite a long distance, you have to fuel.
It's
About getting your fueling right, and that's what everyone messes up. So they get to like 15, 16 miles and they haven't fueled.
Yeah.
Like, what did you expect? What did you expect is going to happen?
How many times did you fuel? I was looking to fuel 3 times. Or is that too much?
No, I mean, it depends how much you're looking to take on. If you're looking for a 3-hour marathon, you want to be fueling from half an hour into the race. You've only got an hour and a half's worth of glycogen stores, so you want to be taking on probably a minimum of 60 grams of carbohydrates an hour from half an hour into the race, minimum.
It's mad how much stuff
Min-
comes
yeah.
in.
Minimum.
Especially if you want good times in that as well.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how much do you weigh?
74 kg.
Yeah, so probably like if you just went like body weight and took that on per hour, you'd be fueled throughout the race. But you certainly don't want to be going like just taking on like a couple of gels or something. You're not taking on enough carbs. You're gonna run out of carbohydrates. Then you're gonna have to rely on fat, which doesn't.
It's not going to be like.
Well, it just doesn't. You just don't get the same amount of energy. It doesn't metabolize as fast. So you will slow down, and the only way you wouldn't slow down is if you've been training specifically on fat the whole time, and you were fat adapted.
Fat adapted, yeah.
But that's just not efficient. Carbohydrate metabolism is so much better for speed and on endurance performance than fat metabolism. I don't care what anyone says. The research is out on it.
No, I used to do low carb, and I just never felt as good.
I just feel flat.
Now I've been running. Like, this is probably that first half marathon. I think I took some gels on. I just made it up probably like the 7th mile, and it made me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I got like a second wind. I felt alive again. I could run. And my fastest miles was my last miles. I think I done it in like 6:20 or something like that. My last mile.
Flying then.
Yeah, I could have probably pushed. Like, I was looking back. I probably could have pushed harder, to be fair.
Yeah.
But at least I know I paced it a bit better than my last one instead of going out egoish.
Just learning and taking it into the next one, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
then
what you do. That's
obviously-
100%. You don't know because
Yeah.
you've never done you haven't done distance enough, for instance.
Nah.
You don't know how you're going to feel at this point. So the more you do the distance, you go, okay, actually, I've gone a little bit too hard there, or I've got loads of energy left. Like my last Ironman, I blew up on the marathon a bit because I couldn't take on any more fuel. My stomach started bloating and just I couldn't take on any carbs, so I was stuck with water. But I got to the end of the race, and I beat my PB by the year before by like an hour. But the year before was on a much harder course. But still, it's an hour PB. And I sort of like, was that a bit out of breath because I timed it to come in 11 hours. And I got to like 200 metres out. I looked at my watch and I was like, fuck. I was like, the course is actually 300 metres longer than what my watch is telling me. So I tried to run as fast as I could to get in under 11. I ended up getting 11:01.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was a bit out of breath when I got to the finish line, but I sort of like rested for 30 seconds, and then my mum was there, my brother and my cousin. They're like, "How you feeling?" I was like, "You know what? I feel completely fine." And then I just like ate some food, chilled for a bit, and then drove home. It's like, I was like completely.
You fucking could have jumped over.
I was completely fine. I was like, you know what? I didn't really leave it out there, but I had no energy in my legs.
Yeah.
So I could have gone much faster if I could have fueled better, but it was what it was.
Let's do it. We're doing a little intro in anyway.
Yeah.
We've been rolling, but
Yeah.
people,
We got lost.
welcome to the Curious Fijian. I'm your host, Fijian.
I'm the co-host, Rain.
And we got Dale Hardiman with us, Ironman, former MMA fighter, former Marine, and just by the sounds of the first 10 minutes, all out savage.
Mentality monster.
But Hardiman Performance, how did you get started with osteopath?
So I had some. So I've always been interested in stuff to do with the body, human performance, exercise, training, health, and I left when I left the Marines I left in 2009. I was looking for what to do next, right? And I had a shoulder injury at the time. I had like really badly injured my shoulder playing rugby, and I was working with a physio and osteopath, and I just went down and observed them because I was interested in what they did, and that kind of gave me some inspiration. And I was looking for something to do anyway, so I applied for uni, and then went to uni, studied it, and then set up my business. Yeah.
What is the actual major difference between like physiotherapy and osteopath?
Because
I was searching. You're
opening a can of worms.
It's because I was searching it up earlier and I was thinking, what is the
how
actual...
long have we got today? This is
Dissect
it's
it.
the worst question. I can't answer it because it's impossible to answer.
Key differences.
Well,
There's got to be. Like, why would someone pick to go to an osteopath instead of a physio? Like,
I don't even know because there's
I thought one's for more alignment.
it's just all no one like you don't know. I don't even know.
I thought it was for alignment. I thought it was for body alignment.
That's the problem. Like no one knows, right? Because the reason there's some key differences at undergraduate level when you're studying. So physios predominantly do a lot of training within the NHS. They do a lot of like observations in NHS settings, and when they graduate, they're essentially not diagnosticians. They don't diagnose stuff really. They go to work within the NHS, and they work underneath a physio, right? So they don't do a lot of primary healthcare stuff when they first qualify, and most of the stuff they do is prescribe exercises. That's the key thing for physios. Now this is a dumbed down version, and it's not strictly true, but this is kind of how it's perceived. And they also don't do a lot of hands-on stuff. They don't do a lot of hands-on stuff in their undergraduate education. Chiropractors they specifically treat the spine, and all of their beliefs revolve around the spine being the center of the body, and there's nerves that come out, and they can treat the spine in order to fix things in different areas. Now this is once again not strictly true, but this is the kind of how that's perceived and what they do at undergraduate training. Osteopaths they do a combination of hands-on stuff and exercise, and they do a lot of working with private patients during their clinical training. So when they come out, they're more ready to go out into the clinical setting. But if you look at the core syllabus on all three courses, 95% is probably the same. There's some key differences, and in terms of like once someone's been out of training for like 5 years, if you go into a private clinic, you could take 2 osteopaths and they would practice completely differently. Like you have one that's completely fucking loopy over here, like telling you like that they need to like open your chakras or something completely random, and you've got one like me who's actually working to help people using evidence and research and patient experience.
I suppose it comes down to an individual.
It comes down to individuals. Like,
How
there's a lot
much
of
they want to learn.
There's a lot of physios that I would practice almost the exact same as, and there's a lot of physios that I would practice completely differently too, and same for osteopaths. Chiropractors are the ones that get the most amount of stick because they have. I mean, there's a lot of kind of like healthcare. I'm going down a rabbit hole, but like healthcare is broken in my opinion. Like the way healthcare is, and chiropractors are kind of the peak of the brokenness in healthcare because they not all chiropractors, and actually I don't believe chiropractor, but if you look at the kind of the stereotype of a chiropractor, it's like you go and see a chiropractor, he x-rays your back, he tells you something's rotated out of a line, you're going to need 3 spinal manipulation sessions every week for the next 6 months to fix it, and that's not true. So that broke, but basically that is something that symbolises healthcare as a whole, and healthcare as a whole is something at the moment is the reason why it's broken is because most people believe that the healthcare practitioner is the fixer. Right, you go to the fixer and they give you a medication or a surgery
It's just all on
or
database.
something. They're the fixer. They give you something and you go away and you're better.
Yeah.
When that's not fucking true. Like, if you want good healthcare outcomes, you need to be actively involved in the healthcare yourself. So if you, and that might involve sorting out your poor health habits, sleep, exercise, nutrition, training, whatever it is. If you look at all the kind of the chronic health conditions, 95% of these problems could be mitigated through better lifestyle. Now, there is a genetic component, and there is also a socio-economic component. So it's kind of how wealthy someone is and their access to education and stuff. That's very predictive of healthcare outcomes. So if you grew up in a poorer area, I did, like grew up in Luton, normal working class lad, healthcare outcomes aren't as good around Luton as they are in Kensington, right? they're just not as good, right? Like, people do better. They've got better access to education, more money to pay for healthcare. Don't have to wait for tests. Better genetics, unfortunately, because they've been bred better over a period of time with less diseases and stuff. And the interesting thing about that is, at the moment, there's a difference between wealthy people and unwealthy people in terms of healthcare outcomes, right? Socio-economic status. But this is my problem with the future is that actually at the moment they're both humans in terms of their genetics, but in the future, with this gene altering therapies people are having, right? Eventually, the wealthy are going to have a genetic advantage. So have genes that are
not available.
So they're stronger, fitter, smarter. Now you'll start to really see
there'll be a gap.
The gap's not only going to be an economic gap, it'll be a genetic gap as well. How scary, right?
That is.
I've never looked at it like that
How
either.
fucking scary.
They're saying in Singapore.
That shit's coming.
They're saying in Singapore, innit? They've started
that shit's coming.
playing around people's DNAs and mixing
Well, you
DNA.
know what Elon Musk's saying
DNA.
about getting the device that goes in your head, and like he was talking about that on Joe Rogan. I can't actually remember what the device was called, but it's only really going to be available to rich people because poor people ain't going to be able to afford it.
Yeah, but I feel like that's what you pay for what you get, don't you? Really?
Yeah.
But
I mean, so then there's an argument that, okay, well, how do if in terms of healthcare or health outcomes, what's the best thing you can do to ensure a good health outcome? And probably the best thing you can do is get wealthy.
Stop being poor.
How crazy, right?
Yeah, but I feel like that's just common sense.
that is the answer. People were not expecting that. What I was expecting.
Mate, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
But like,
It's true. Health is wealth, though. Health is wealth.
And the opposite way,
the more money you have,
opposite
the
way
more
around, right?
Yeah, it does.
That's
it does.
fucking. It's crazy to think that no one says this. No one promotes it because it could be seen as discriminating against people that don't have money, for instance, right?
You can still look after yourself, though.
But you've got your lifestyle stuff, but also means like, okay, how do I improve my chances of living a healthier life? Probably having good values like good work ethic, and dedication to certain things, etc., is going to help you improve your chances of having a better life. Also, you become, that's also going to help you with your health right now, right? Physical and psychological health. If you're getting stuck into something, if you've got a purpose, if you're working towards something, this is all positive stuff for people to be doing. So, I mean, I think that will solve a lot of problems. But no one's going to come around and give everyone money. So, and to improve their health.
Do you actually think if the healthcare system, we've always spoke about this as well, but do you think if the healthcare system was all private, it would fix more problems?
No.
Do you not?
No, it's a mess. Well, the American healthcare model is a disaster, and the reason why it's a disaster is because you've got a certain amount of people that can't access healthcare at all, right? So you've got this health poverty in America, so people have to sell their homes to get, they have a car crash and all of a sudden they have to sell their homes, they lose everything. Right? That should never happen. Not in today's society, right? We have a okay system here with the NHS, but then also, if you have a private only model, it leads to a rapid increase in the cost of healthcare, because it's private anyway. We might as well charge more. We might as well do more tests that aren't needed. We might as well, all of a sudden, people are having investigations they don't need. Like at the moment with the NHS, people need investigations, they ain't getting them. So in private healthcare, people get investigations they don't need. They have scans they don't need. They get blood tests they don't need. They have, which can potentially be harmful, right? X-rays, CT scans. They give you a radiation dose. That's potentially harmful, especially like an abdominal CT. You think it's like 200 days of background radiation from that. That's a lot of radiation, right? But people also have then interventions they don't need. So if you scan someone's back, and in the first 6 weeks of back pain, for instance, and you look at it and it's like, that person's got a herniated disc right through, for example. And that person's like, oh shit, I've got a herniated disc. It's causing these symptoms into my leg. And you go and see the consultant says, actually, what we can do is we can cut that disc out, and that will remove the pressure on the nerve. And the person goes, oh, that's great. Like, it's going to make me better. Gets it done, they've still got symptoms. What's going back to consult? Oh, well, actually, herniated discs don't actually correlate with your symptoms, but we've seen it on the scan, and we thought that was the cause, and now we've done something that you don't need. So is that
because America's all private? Would it be better here because there's the balance of private?
I think Australia have a hybrid model.
Because you were hybrid.
Yeah, I didn't mean just like fully private.
Because there's a fight between people, then, because people want to private all.
I think there should be more private healthcare, but it's not that simple, right? So, but yeah, in the UK we would benefit from a better healthcare system overall. Like at the moment in the UK, the funding's terrible. For the NHS, the staff morale's low. They're struggling to recruit anyone. The budgets are mishandled.
They're all like money making schemes. When we worked for them before, man, they're like
who?
What? NHS. We got painting. I don't even know if we should be saying this, but we got painting contracts.
They won't see it. Don't worry. They won't see it yet.
We got painting contracts through the NHS, but the painting contracts for the NHS is like, for instance, say I paint this one wall. It'd be like you could charge like $3,000.
It's a joke.
$3,000, and they pay it.
They're backhanders and that, and then there's.
I know exactly how it works.
It's an organisation.
I know how it works.
You chuck on, people, the MDs and stuff for the NHS would be like, you chuck on an extension,
whatever you want,
on the price. So $25,000 to pay for my extension, and we'll give you the job. They're doing that sort of shit, and it's all coming out of the taxpayers' money. It's
mate, I know this happens. And that's
I thought that happens.
It's a common thing.
So much at work, like working close to the council. Like going back to COVID, sorry.
No, that's fine. Go.
So we got offered at work to do like where you go knock on people's door, get them to fill out the forms during COVID, like if they went on holiday or anything, and they were giving away £30 per door you went to, and bearing in mind you could do 30 doors in like 2-3 hours.
I'll be running.
I'm quitting work, man.
Answer the door, you still get £30.
Yeah.
So like there was people at my work that were like working in the gym as a trainer, and then they would go finish their shift at work and go make 13 grand in 1 month just knocking on people's doors.
No way.
And they were getting paid it. There was no regulations. They were just sending a filled out form where they would write on it, take a photo.
Where was I, man?
No one told.
Where was I?
No one gave us the heads up. They kept us all safe.
It's fucking
that's the problem, right? And that happens massively in the NHS. For instance, there's a lot of kind of like contracts that they're paying over the odds for. So the money's mishandled. Even for stuff like couch roll. So we use couch roll in our clinic. Now, I spoke to loads of people in the NHS and they pay like 4 times what I pay for couch roll, right? Bearing in mind I've got a small clinic in Luton, right? And they've got huge buying power. How are they paying more per roll than what I am?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. So companies are just going, right, it's a government contract. Let's just charge what we want, which is a mess. So that needs, and because it's not coming out of the person's pocket, the person who's signing the checks, right? They couldn't give a crap. Like the council are the worst for it. They just sign checks. Just like
that's why
they're not running it like a business. if that was right, so, and it's in it. I've got a few small businesses, and I've had it with staff before where they're just like, I give them like the ability to just like make decisions on stuff we purchase and stuff. And I've gone in and looked. I'm like, why are you not looking into this properly? Why are you spending like 3 times the amount on something when you can get it cheaper? Because it's not their money. If that was their money, right?
They'd be fucking deep diving.
So I'm like, this happens again. That's coming out your wages.
Yeah.
Like, don't like this. You have like the reason why I'm getting you to do it is because you've got the time to look into it and do research on it. Otherwise, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
Like you need to do it like it's coming out. You need to spend the money like it's coming out of your own bank account. If that happened, which it doesn't within the NHS, but if it did, then the NHS would be in a much better state. They've got a massive staff crisis as well.
There's no leadership though, is there?
There's not. But
Yeah, it's like the country's in kind of crisis. Like from the top down, then it kind of just reflects on everything.
The country's not. The world's in crisis right
Yeah.
now, right? So, but the NHS staffing crisis is the big one because they've done a lot. There's a lot of things that have happened over the last, say, 20 years, which have led to this position where they've got an issue with staff. One of the things that got introduced was a lot of people are now working self-employed within the NHS. So for instance, there were nurses, and there's like an NHS bank system or NHS agency system which recruits people into the NHS as self-employed. So they kind of pick and choose their hours. So which was supposed to be used for overflow, but because they pay more and people get to pick and choose their hours, a lot of NHS staff are just going, you know what, fuck this. I don't want to work nights. I'd rather go and work for this agency and do half the hours, pick and choose my hours, and still get paid 3 times as much. That's a problem within the NHS right now, right? But they need the staff, so they're going to keep paying it. But this is the reason why this NHS staffing numbers are so low, because they have actually got staff, but they're not actually employed by the NHS. They're employed by an external agency who are then paid. So the NHS are paying over the odds for the same staff.
So they're just getting like shagged every single angle.
And then we had Brexit, which means it's more difficult for European staff to come to this country, less appealing for them, too much hassle. And then they do stupid stuff like remove funding from nursing. So they remove the funding for the degree, and the whole deal with the nursing degree is that when years ago was like NHS would pay for your degree. You'd get a bursary when you're at uni because it's very, very difficult to work when you're doing a nursing degree because you've got your clinical hours to meet and you've got your educational stuff.
Very stressful job.
Stressful. You're doing night shifts and stuff when you're on placement as a uni student. And then you go into nursing and it's a kind of not a high paid job, right? But the NHS would get 5 to 10 years service out of these nurses before they move on to something else. Some of them will stay within the NHS system. And that was a good deal. Now they remove the funding for nursing, and they wonder why no one's trained to be a nurse anymore. It's like
there's no incentive.
There's no incentive, right? People can make money online.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to make money.
Yeah,
now.
there's a lot of ways.
There's loads of ways to make money.
It's a hard job to not give an incentive for. You know
Yeah,
Yeah.
It should be incentivized.
It's all them government funded jobs, though, like the policing. It's all of it. There, even the army. To be fair, it's like they're all
forces where the wage is terrible, right? Bearing in mind you're going out to fight wars in countries, but a lot of people aren't doing it for the wage either.
Yeah. You're just doing it.
You're doing it because you have something that's driving you to do it, right? Whatever that is, like maybe you come from a broken home, you've got no family around, you want to feel part of something, right? Maybe you're really pissed off that you've seen the Twin Towers get blown up and you want to go and you feel like you want to do something about it. Maybe you've got something else to prove to yourself in terms of your fitness. Maybe you're just inspired by the armed forces when you were younger and it's like, actually, like one of my family members did it, I wanted to go and do that. So it definitely doesn't come from a place of wanting to earn money. Because why would you go? You're not going to the armed forces to earn money, right? Like you're gonna get paid $7. Like when I left training, I think I'm pretty sure I was getting paid $16,000 a year, and then a few months later I was in Afghanistan, right? I mean, it's not a good deal, is it? But it wasn't about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't about that.
What age did you actually go to the
16
Marines? You went to the Marines at 16?
I went to the Marines at 16. I passed out of training when I was 17, and then I turned 18 probably a few months after I passed out of training. And then, in the March of the following year was when I went on my first deployment. So I was 18.
And then you done the 5
hell,
years
man. Yo,
So
mate.
when you done the 5 years of service, was that from when you'd passed out 5 years of service, was including
No,
the time
so
training?
far I've done 5.5 years. So yeah, from start of training to leaving.
Because one of our mates has just joined the Marines, and he's obviously he's ringing back every week or every other week. He was ringing us the other day, and he was telling us about one of the training courses he was doing, and then he was like, "Yeah, so how's your week been?" And I was thinking, I can't complain about nothing. This man's told me he's like in the freezing cold and that 4 hours sleep in 5 days. I'm like, nothing I say to you, I don't even want to say nothing.
And he's definitely not exaggerating.
No,
Raw Marine training's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
When they went and looked for that team and they were just bunkered down.
Yeah. He showed me a video before he left, like, oh, this is what we're going to be doing on the next exercise when I go back. And this team, because they got told that if anyone gets lost, they done like a 3-day training exercise. You get left on your own. You got to read the maps. If you get lost, just dig the hole and like bunker down and sleep. So these teams are all looking for the team that's lost, because the staff are like, we need to go out. They wake this team up who's had no sleep. They go out all night blowing their whistles looking, and this team's just asleep. And they come back in the morning and they're like, yeah, we just bunkered down and went bed. And the other team were fucking freezing looking for them whole night.
I rate it, man.
Yeah, no, that's the sort of thing, right?
It's just mentality, isn't it? It's just...
It's a great thing to do at a young age.
Is that where your obviously mentalities come from? Has it all been shaped by the army and the Marines?
I think so. I mean, I don't know that. Probably there's a certain element of something.
You obviously had a mentality
in me beforehand to want to
100%.
do it, right? But it definitely shaped the way I see the world and think about a lot of things.
So how many tours did you end up doing?
I've done 2 tours of Afghanistan,
Yeah.
and we did the tour of Sierra Leone, which was really not really a tour. It was an exercise in the end, because we were supposed to go out there for there was like some elections, and they were worried about there was going to be some issues, and nothing happened. So we're just in the jungle on exercise. But yeah, I've done two tours of Afghanistan. So I spent 13 months of my life in Afghanistan, and it was, there was a lot going on. So it was a crazy time. I was in Afghanistan in 2006 and 2007-8. So at that time, this was like, peak,
ripe. Yeah,
this was peak war
yeah.
fighting in Afghanistan. So it was a crazy time.
And you're only young as well, man.
Yeah.
Was everyone around that sort of age, like going
Pretty
in?
much. Not necessarily that young, but everyone, like most of the lads were under 25.
Yeah.
So young lads.
Because when I was like going through your Instagram looking at photos, you didn't look like 18.
Nah.
Like you look like 25, 26.
Mate, I looked older now.
Yeah.
So I just looked older. So yeah, but I looked older when I was 12 or something.
Yeah,
When,
yeah.
after I had a growth spurt and become more of a man, my face was looked a bit older. So but I was young. I also had got no hair, so receding hairline early.
At least
so
you've owned it though.
Yeah, mate. 100%,
You just grew the beard out and just gone bald
Yeah.
with it. That's what you got to do.
no,
really,
because
You could have went Turkey. A lot of people go
could've gone
Turkey.
Turkey.
I just own it.
Yeah, I could have gone Turkey. Yeah, I mean it's getting cheaper. Maybe I'm not going Turkey, but the so that made you look a bit older. But yeah, no, I wouldn't change joining the armed forces. I loved it. Like it taught me a lot about life.
Does it make you view the army in any different way? Some people come back, don't they, and they don't get on with the army too well.
I mean, I was in the Marines, so it's a bit like it's a much more of a close knit organisation. You've got a lot of very, very good lads around you, and that's one thing I miss, having people with a similar mentality around you 24/7. You really do level
I was
up.
gonna say, because it's so hard to find people now that are like, maybe like, even to me and him, like I'm just like, some people you just view things, you're like,
everyone literally says it all the time. Like the common sense isn't common anymore.
Common sense.
It's like you're maybe in. Well, we're not even in your bracket of percentage, but it's like there's only like 25% of people you'd meet are like,
and have that sort of conversation with and stuff. Yeah, but I don't view the armed forces differently. I joined. I done what I wanted to do. I always planned on staying for a short period of time, and I done my tours and then left. I had a good time, met a lot of good friends, and I love the Royal Marines. I think they're brilliant what they do. But yeah, like I did have a period of time after I left where I kind of massively moved away from it and just forgot about it, because I mean, you do a lot of stuff when you're in there, right? And it's good. I think I probably needed to bury it for a period of time and not think about it in order to just move on with my life.
Yeah,
But then after about 5 years, I came back to it.
Yeah, well, did you adapt quick when you come back out, or was it sort of like?
Not. I would say quick enough. I certainly wasn't
Not
scratching
the-
around
yeah.
for too long, but I definitely had some like. It was a weird time. I went from all of a sudden being a Royal Marine to then being just like
Just a normal
bozo.
geezer.
No one give a crap. I didn't have anything to offer, right? I was a young lad. The country was in recession at the time. There wasn't any jobs around. I didn't have a plan when I left. I just knew I was going to leave at that time. Obviously, then went and applied to be an osteopath and trained to do that. But I was kind of a bit lost. I was just like scratching around for work, trying to figure things out, taking like whatever jobs I could, and it's an unfortunate thing, but you do tie your confidence and everything to what you do and what you offer. And I felt like I didn't have that much to offer at the time, right? So I lost my confidence a little bit. I remember when I was still in, it was in August, maybe it was September of the year I was leaving, and I was on summer leave, and I had to go back to sign some paperwork for a couple of weeks, and then I was leaving. But I was walking up Bradgett, you know Bradgett's Hill, Stopsley? I was walking up Bradgett's Hill with two of my mates, and he was on the phone to someone, I'm not sure who, and he was like, the guy was like, who are you with, to my mate, and he's like, I'm with so-and-so, Shane, and I'm with Dale, the ex-Marine. And I was like, oh fuck man, you cut me hard. Like it was always Dale the Marine, right? And then all of a sudden it's Dale the ex-Marine. And now I don't really tie I don't tie anything to what I do, or like my self-esteem's not tied to what I do or anything, or any of my achievements or anything like that. But back then, that was very much part of my identity.
Yeah.
So that sucked. And once I got over that, it was okay. But what really helped me with the transition was starting to do mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I was going to.
That massively helped me with the transition. I just put all of my focus into that.
So you had a purpose.
Yeah, 100%.
And you are around similar people, like with the same.
It
sort
solved
of
a lot
goals.
of problems, right?
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden I was in a gym with loads of lads training really, really hard. It felt like I was back in the armed forces, working towards something, improving every day, kicking the fuck out of each other. You know, usually that time. You know, and it really helped me navigate that period. I think I only really connected to dots maybe a few years ago, like how important that was.
Yeah.
At the time, I was just doing something, right? I was just like, I need to keep fit. I'm going to go and do mixed martial arts, but I didn't realise how much of an anchor it was at that point.
It's probably why you just naturally drifted towards it then.
There must have been some
sort of like
something pushed
Everything happens for a reason.
because it does sound like the next logical step.
Something pushed me that way. I
Yeah.
don't know what. And like I remember, like loads of lads from the Marines messaged me like, "You're fighting." I wasn't fighting when I was in the Marines, right? Like, and all of a sudden, a few months after leaving, I was in like full blown fights. And they're like, "You weren't even training for fights." And I was like what happened? And I was like, just I went down this gym and I had a crazy coach, and he pushed me into a fight, and I got involved. Yeah.
Where was the first gym you started training at?
Storm. Like we had obviously, do you know Amir?
Yeah.
Like, the head coach at Storm. But we had like an absolute ridiculously good team at the time. There was just loads of lads coming through at the same time, and it was just really
Killers.
good.
But that was like when it was Storm. When it was Storm.
Oh mate, it was like we had European champions, world champions, British champions. We had in every single kind of discipline you'd expect from combat sports. There was loads of us down in the gym, and it was a crazy environment. And yeah, you just end up getting good quick if you can survive, right? So I remember the first day down in the gym, I was straight in sparring with Tristan, Andrew, Arunas, Panikos, all these lads who were pro fighters at the time, right? I wasn't a fighter. I was just like a big, strong Marine, right? I was fit and strong. I was just getting the shit kicked out of me, but I was tough, and I was able to take it, and I was like, it didn't put me off. I was like, oh, yeah, that was not very nice, but I need to obviously learn to beat these people.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then slowly, one by one, work on taking them out.
What was it actually like sparring with the Tates? Because there's been a lot of people like from around here that like they would spar how they would fight.
yeah, so I mean, they weren't too bad. So Andrew was like was probably my primary training partner for the majority of the time I was training. Because me and him went to a really good level within our sports. Tristan was different. He was like in and out of the gym. He'd come in, he would like come back for a few months, train for a fight, then you wouldn't see him for a few months, then he'd come back. Me and Andrew were there every day training. We were like every day fighting. And as a result, Andrew was a better fighter than Tristan. Now, if they both had an equal amount of training, I don't know. Who knows who's naturally the better athlete out of the two. Yeah. But certainly top G. so Andrew, top G now, right? So Andrew, he was definitely the better one based on commitment.
Yeah.
He was training harder, etc. He was there all the time. But yeah, they were big lads. They're very big lads. They hit hard. Andrew's a legit world champion kickboxer. The guy's a fucking savage.
Yeah, because a lot of people think online that he's not that hard.
He's not,
Man,
he's got to be like...
Mate, he's a fucking savage. When he's fit...
Here you go.
When he's fit, he's rapid.
Yeah.
He's got really good timing. He's got lots of good physical attributes that work in his favour. And
pretty smart as well. I think
he's extremely intelligent.
Yeah, I think his brain, like, because of with the chess stuff, you just think that's perfect for fighting because you can think 5 moves ahead, or you can think.
And that was one of the reasons I done well in fighting. I was just smarter than people I was fighting against. Yeah. I'm pretty like I had my first professional MMA fight 9 weeks after I stepped in the gym.
You're a calculated guy, man.
9 weeks after.
And you done no amateurs?
I had 2 amateur fights before that.
And you just jumped straight. But in the 9 weeks,
yeah, two amateur fights, and then 3 weeks before this fight. So what happened was, I had these 2 amateur fights on one day, and I won both fights in the first round. And I was getting by at that point by like playing UFC video game. Whether it was UFC night, like what was it like?
Some people learn moves in that outfit, though, bro.
Right. So I was like learning arm bars and stuff in this UFC game. I was a UFC fan, and then so I went down to the gym to keep fit, started training. I'd done a little bits and pieces with the lads before when I was in the armed forces. Done a little bit of stuff when I was younger, but like I'd go down to the gym, be there for like few weeks, month at the most, and then I wouldn't do it. But I obviously had a lot of fights when I was a kid. You know, I grew up fighting. You know, that I grew up on one of the lads. We had a lot of fights when we were kids, right? I went to Cardinal, which is the Catholic school in Luton.
Yeah.
And all the other schools didn't like us, right? Because whenever we were in our own areas. So I lived in Stopsley growing up. You'd have like Stopsley, Partridge, Ashcroft. They all try and bully you because there'd be like 5 of us and there'd be like 30 of them. So you had to learn how to fight, right? So we learned how to fight when we were younger. So we did all that. But that's just Luton stuff, right? Like
it literally is Luton, though, isn't it?
Everyone scraps, Luton. Like young lads scrap. It's good. Like it doesn't do you any harm when you're an adult being in those. Yeah, it's character building. It's you're dealing with confrontation. You learn a lot from that stuff. Like nowadays, like people stabbing each other and stuff, like running around the streets with machetes, chopping arms off. That's ridiculous. But back in the day, people just have a fight. And
but that don't make you hard, does it? Run around
it's embarrassing.
You know what I mean?
That's why you need to learn how to do an Ironman. So you can fucking run right.
Yeah, right. You need to train how to survive. So I did this amateur fight. Had 2 fights in one day. One of them went back to training the next day or something, and then I think it was maybe a week later. Mia said to me, "There's this show in Southend." And there's a guy, there's a guy that's your weight, and I was fighting at 77 kilos at the time. The guy that's your weight, he's more experienced, but you'll beat him. I was like, sound. I was like, I'll fight anyone. I didn't really care. I wasn't that bothered about. I just wasn't scared. Like I was scared on the day, but I just weren't I just weren't that scared of it. It just didn't.
How
scare
old
me
was you
much.
when you first started?
I was 21 when I started.
Okay.
So I was 22 at the time. Time. So 22, and I just weren't that scared. Like I was doing well in training, I was improving, although I'd only been doing it 6 weeks. But 6 weeks in my timeline of doing stuff is a lot, right? Because I'll throw myself in there. When I'm working on something, I will fucking work my ass off. I'm obsessed. I can't. That's the way my brain is. I'm a deep learner, so I'll just get involved. I'll be in the gym all the time. I'll be watching videos. I'll be learning. I'm analysing everything. My brain's really good at memorising information anyway. I've always been academic, so I was just like obsessed. Boom, boom, boom. Train, and I was already fit and strong. So I ticked a lot of boxes anyway. So he goes, do you want to take this fight? I was like, yeah. And it was on this show in Southend called UWC. So I went down there. So the week before the fight, sorry, Amir comes up to me. He's like, Dale, your opponent's pulled out. I was like, oh shit. He goes, but it's all right. We've got another opponent. I was like, okay, cool. He goes, but it's a bit different to the other one because your opponent that's pulled out, well, it was supposed to be on the amateur undercard, right? And the other guy that pulled out at 77 kilos is the pro main event, right? So he goes, so you'll be fighting on the main event of the pro card.
So you have to be pro.
So you'll be fighting on the main event of the pro card, right? Yeah. So I was like, what? So against a professional? And he goes, yeah, against a pro fight. I was like, yeah, well, okay, what's he doing? He's like, he goes, fuck it, Dale. This is how he speaks. It's just some jiu-jitsu guy from London. Fuck him, just clock him, yeah. This is
He's a savage as well.
Just clock him, right? And this is his mentality. Just clock him, right? I was like, oh, right, sounds legit. Okay, yeah, I'll just do it. So I went down there, and I weighed in on the day. So I weighed in at 77 kilos on the day, and like he weighed in the day before. And then when I seen him next day, I was like, fuck. This guy's a giant. He was like about 4 inches taller than me, much bigger than me. I was like, okay, it's probably going to be a tough night. Anyway, I went in there, started fighting him, realised very quickly I was out of my depth. Threw an overhand right that he flying kneed me in the face, knocked my teeth out. So my teeth were swilling around in my mouth. And I was obviously carried on fighting. Then he took me down, mounted me, was dropping elbows on me. And then as I posted up, he armbarred me and I tapped out. And I was like, okay. That's what it's like to fight someone who legit knows how to fight, right?
Yeah.
So it was like a baptism.
Just clock him.
Just clock him. I was like, I tried that. And then, later on I was in the hospital, they were like, yeah, we can't do much with these teeth. So, but that was like a baptism by fire. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn this properly. So I was trained even more. And I went on a tear after that. I didn't go back to amateur. I just stayed at pro. And I was just like, right, fuck it, I'm just going to fight people. I was able to, pretty much everyone I fought, I guarantee, was more experienced than me, had trained the sport longer than me. I can almost guarantee that. I didn't have the conversation with all of them afterwards, etc. But I can almost guarantee it because who's fighting pro in MMA at 9 weeks?
No.
At 3 months? At 6 months? They're not, are they?
No.
The next year I had 5 fights, won them all. And then, I just kept fighting. And that was it. I got better and better and better. And then obviously the opponents improved. But yeah, had a good career in it. And to be honest, like even now, so you probably hear like a bit of a lisp in my voice. At the moment I'm having dental work done on that injury. So for a long time I had a bridge on my teeth where they put one of the teeth back in. And this year at Ironman, I was opening the gel the day before the race and I snapped my tooth. So I snapped the bridge. So, and then I had to fucking super glue the tooth back into my mouth to race. Right, and it come like I was swimming, I knocked it and it twisted, and I was racing with a twisted tooth, right? And I was like,
I bet it was just.
I was like, this gonna fall out because it was like in my mouth, and at the moment I've got a temporary.
Okay, so it's temporary.
I'm waiting to have a tooth put in, a proper one put in. So there you go. So that's
and that's from the first injury.
That was from that injury. That was in. And the guy. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you a story about the guy. The guy that beat me was the first ever Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt in the UK. He's an absolute legend in jiu-jitsu. His name's Jude Samuel. Pretty much, a whole host of the best black belts in the UK have trained underneath him.
Yeah.
And we're friends now. He's now the matchmaker for Bellator, the British matchmaker for Bellator. He's also got a gym, but really good guy. So I really did get thrown in at the deep end. But I mean, to be honest, I came out. I mean, nothing serious happened, right?
Yeah.
Bit of hurt my teeth.
I think you've been through worse though, really. Like,
yeah, 100%.
If you like in the Marines and that, it's worse than getting beaten.
I think
up
you've seen a bit more life.
Yeah,
innit?
I just went it made me, if anything, it made me more intrigued to learn it.
Yeah,
because I was like, you grow up and you have a few fights, you know, oh yeah, like it must be quite tough, right? And then you and then you're a Royal Marine and you're strong and fit, and then you go and fight this guy, right? And he just whoops you so bad. You're like, fuck, it's crazy the level.
You got that choice in your turn.
Yeah, you can run away.
Leave away or
You
just
can run
like,
away.
No, I'll just
Like
get
most people
off.
run away, don't they? They don't like it. But yeah, I went back to it and then just got better and better and better. I mean, from start to finish, I only done MMA for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like actually training properly to fight. I've done some bits and pieces afterwards, but that was a really condensed career. I don't know anyone that's done what I did in 3 years.
No.
From start to finish.
I think you're just obsessed, man.
I just went hard, mate. I just went.
You're gonna do it.
I was about just. I was always just think like, how do I beat this opponent? Like, what can I do to beat him? Because I knew that they have more skills than me, but I was like, they don't know that though. That's another thing. Psychologically, they don't know how much you know. So I know that they probably know more than me, but they don't know what I know. So I'm like, where are their weaknesses? What can I exploit? Okay, let's do that. And that's how I fought. So if you watch my fights, you can see that I'm not looking to have a scrap with anyone. I'm looking to effectively beat them, take them out.
And Storm wasn't notoriously it's not an MMA gym either.
Mate, right. So it's a kickboxing gym. We had some MMA classes. Like one of my mates, Kieran, was training us. Mate, I hashed it together. I had no official grappling training really. I used to travel a bit to spar, so I got a lot of training from sparring. I used to travel with the Tates. We'd go around the country sparring people in different places, and also I used to do a lot of MMA sparring as well. I went to a few wrestling classes. I never formally trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, although I've submitted a lot of people. I beat black belts in MMA fights.
That's mental. Isn't it?
So
how?
Right. So and I know no, I don't, mate. It's just. I mean, there's only two things in life that I've been naturally very good at. I'm very academic, and I was good at fighting. I just understood it.
Yeah.
And then, like everything else, I've had to work to the academic thing's a massive thing because it gives you the ability to learn fast, no matter what you're doing. So I am blessed with that, right? That's not any of my doing. I'm very, very fortunate to have a brain that works like that. Whereas physicality, I was fucking weak. As a kid, I was pathetic. I was not the sporty kid. I weren't pathetic. I weren't terrible, but I was a sub on the football team, right? I was kind of like, if Dale's not here, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't nowhere near the fastest in the year. I was nowhere near the strongest in the year. I built all them characteristics myself from hard work. Like, that's the reason why I joined the Marines. One of the reasons, because I wanted the physical challenge. I was very, very bored of education. I was lucky when I was younger to have really good brain. I sailed through school. Like, I didn't do no revision for any exams. Nothing.
You're just
and
that
still
guy.
got like straight A's. So my brain worked, but I wasn't very strong. I wasn't very physical. I remember like the first time I started to learn about being physical, there's this kid at school when I was about 7, kept kicking me. He kicked me every day. And I come home one day, I was crying to my dad, and I was like, oh, this kid's kicked me. It's just like, he goes, what's happened? So he sat me down and spoke to me. I said, oh, he's doing it all the time. He keeps kicking me. He goes, well, and it was the first life lesson I got from my dad, I think, that I can remember. He's like, all right, well, tomorrow when he kicks you, you close your eyes and kick him as hard as you fucking can in the shins. As hard as you can. Like, don't, like, all of your strength goes into the kick. Like, if you only had one kick in you for the rest of your life, make it that kick. All right, so I went to school the next day, and this kid kicked me, right? A kid called Luke. People that went to primary school will remember him. Turns out to be a waste man. But he was a bully at the time, right? And people were scared of him because he threw his weight around a little bit. But he kicked me and I fucking kicked the shit out of his leg. Yeah. I kicked him so hard, right? As hard as I could. And he was on the floor crying his eyes out. I never cried at the time when he kicked me, ever. Like, he'd kick me, I'd be like, I was upset, but I'd never let him know I was upset. Yeah. I cried to my dad after. But I kicked him so goddamn hard. He was crying, rolling around the floor, holding his leg, crying. I got in trouble, obviously. But like, they're like, what happened? I was like, he kicked me and I kicked him back. And then my parents got called in. They said, what happened? And I explained to my parents. And my dad said, no, I told him if he kicks you again, kick him back. Mm-hmm. And the teachers were like, sort of like, and I said, look, and my dad said, look, I have to teach him to stick up for himself, defend himself, because I am very passive by nature. Like I'm willing to take a lot, but
once you flip that switch,
yeah, but it's and
you don't even want it, do you?
Yeah, no, like it's just like I'm passive, so I was like, I'll take it, you know, I'm patient. And then my dad was like, no, you need to now learn to be aggressive as well, because otherwise people will walk all over you. So like that learning that aggressive thing, once again, didn't come naturally to me, but then I learned it and I developed it. It was a skill I had to develop.
What was your mental state like? Because obviously I'm guessing you would have carried on doing MMA if it wasn't for the injury.
So so it was an interesting one. So I had the injury. Had a big surgery, and it was taking me a long time to recover. I'd done a lot of rehab beforehand. I was trying to fight through these injuries. It wasn't going away, and so I ended up having the surgery. Now, if I look back, I probably shouldn't have had the surgery. I think that massively shortened my career. I probably could have fought through it. I probably could have recovered in a longer period of time, but actually my knowledge around that type of stuff was limited compared to what it is now. I've got the benefit of hindsight, the benefit of knowing the research better, more now, the benefit of working with thousands of patients, right? So I've seen the journey, what we can do with people, etc. But at the time, my tutors were telling me, look, surgery is the only option. The consultant was telling me surgery is the only option. I was a student trained to be an osteopath. So I was just like, oh, well, surgery must be the only option, right? So I ended up having this surgery. It took me a real long time to recover, and then I was like, I'd recovered and I was back in training, and I was like, do I even want it? I didn't even know if I even wanted to do it anymore. So I was just like, I was back training. I was looking at people that were in the sport, and I was like, you know what? I've got choices here. I need to, if I'm going to compete in professional mixed martial arts, that needs to be my full-time thing. Like everyone that I was fighting at the time was full-time professional fighters. Like that's their job.
That's their job, yeah.
And then I'm trying to juggle loads of stuff. I was working because I needed to work to get through uni. I was training to fight, and I was studying. And the university course is hard. Like there's a lot of hours that you go. So I was trying to juggle it all, and I was like, I need to make a choice here. And I was like, and I chose to finish off my studies properly and then go into the field that I'm in now. You know, sometimes I think, oh yeah, maybe I should have just carried on fighting a little bit, and it would have been cool. Like when I fought for the Bamma title, that was the same month that Conor McGregor fought for the Cage Warriors World title, right? And so at that point in our careers, we were at the same level in the same month. Right, I lost that fight by decision to a guy called Stevie Ray, who went on to have like 15 fights in the UFC or something, or 8. Yeah, he's beat Anthony Pettis twice. Like recently, he beat a lot of good guys, and it was a close fight. He out wrestled me, but I believe I was better than him. Like my striking was better than him, my jiu-jitsu was better than him. He just out wrestled me. That's the way it went. But I had to make that choice because I knew that I couldn't be competitive unless I trained full time. But at the same time, I was like, there was never my dream to be a UFC fighter. There's never my dream to pursue that. I just started training because I wanted to stay fit. And all of a sudden I found myself in competition. I was doing well and I just went with it. So I was like, let's just keep doing this. And I got to the point where I have to make a decision. I mean, if I had pursued it a little bit more, I believe that I could have fought in the UFC. I truly believe that. I believe now if I come back now and I trained for 3 years, I'd be in the UFC.
Yeah.
100%.
I believe you. Hey, listen, I'm looking at man's resume. Mate,
I 100% believe that. 100% believe it. Like I was good at it. I was talented at it. And even with limited training, even with limited training partners, even with limited coaching, I could do that sport. But at the time, there wasn't the career options weren't there really in mixed martial arts. It wasn't
it's really hard to see a vision, wasn't it?
There was that, yeah, and it wasn't my vision either. Yeah. I was just doing it because I wanted to train, and I was enjoying the competition. But I never had that. I went to tough tryouts in 2008, 2009 maybe. No, 2009, 2012, maybe 2011. Tough Smashes. Do you remember that one where they went to Australia, the UK team, to fight against the Australians? The Ultimate Fighter.
Robert Whittaker.
Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Whittaker and a few others, right? So I went through those tryouts and I got all the way through to the final stage, right? I'd done all the interviews and stuff like that, done all my medicals, and I was number 6 on the list. 4 people went. 1 person went as a reserve, and I was number 6. So I didn't get to go. But then I fought on Cage Warriors a week later and knocked out this guy who was due to sign for the UFC. So if he would have beat me, he would have been in the UFC, right? Yeah. So, but I remember being at tough tryouts, and I was looking at the lads around me, and I was like, I'm here by the fact that I'm good at this and I've worked hard, but these people actually want it more than me. Like I knew that they wanted. So there was a couple of lads from up north, and what they'd done is they'd broken into a school and stayed in a school in the school hall overnight because they couldn't afford to pay for a hotel.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, that's mad.
Right,
that's
to come down to the tryouts, and they've done very, very well in the grappling part of it, but there's a political side to this stuff, right? Face don't fit. They didn't get picked, and I was like thinking, fuck, that's harsh, but that's life. But I remember talking to them about that, and they're telling me they slept on this school floor, and I was like, they want this more than me.
Do you think
I weren't sleeping on school floors?
Yeah.
I weren't sleeping on school floors.
Do you think
I was like,
it would have got to a stage with fighting them sort of people though, where they could have had the edge on you just off wanting it more? Or do you think?
I don't think I would. I'm not. I don't. I never. I don't think that would have been a factor as such.
Yeah.
Because it was, for me, it was more about the competition. Like, I'm going to compete as hard as I can. Yeah. So no, I don't think like that part of it. But maybe it might have done. Like, but if I would have chose that path and it was my only thing, then I'm gonna go for it, right?
Yeah.
That's my only thing I've got for me at that point in time, and it's tricky because like no one in my family. I've done a lot of stuff like different to what everyone expected me to do. So everyone was expecting me to go to Oxford or Cambridge when I was at school. I was in this like gifted and talented program. So
you were like that smart.
Oh mate, I was.
Oxford or Cambridge,
mate. I was
group universities.
honestly like I was the cleverest boy in my year at school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there was 2 people that were really, really clever. There's a girl called Chloe Chick, right, and there was me. And I'm convinced I was smarter than her, right? she done better than me at school, because she was studious. She actually done the work. It's not like I didn't do the work. I was
more laddie.
Very I had mates, so I had stuff. I had stuff to do. I didn't do any revision. But when I was going through secondary school, we went, because we were in this gifted and talented program, right? We got to go around and see loads of universities. So from year 10 onwards, we got to go around visiting universities. So we went to Oxford, we went to Loughborough, we went to like loads of different they're showing us, okay, this is a sport specific thing. This is all these different courses. I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then so we came to year 11, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I was like, you know what, I don't really want to go into education. I was trying to get an apprenticeship, right, in like a trade at the time. No, and I was sending out loads of CVs and stuff and like letters, and everyone was just like, nah, you're too smart. Genuinely, you shouldn't be in these trades. This is what I remember. 2 letters specifically. No, you need to go to university. I was like, hold on, like, I get to choose, surely.
Yeah.
Surely I get to choose. And then. So I was like, this is bullshit. I can't even get an apprenticeship. Like, no one was, and I didn't know anyone. Like, I didn't have any contacts that was going to give me a job.
Yeah.
So I started looking into like one of my brother's mates was in the Marines, and I was talking to him about it. I was like, fuck, that sounds cool. That sounds hard. So I'm gonna go and do that. So I went to school. First I told my parents, and they said, you fucking not. You're not going to the Marines. I was like, no, I am. They're like, you're joking, you're not. And I was like, no, I genuinely am. They're like, well, you can't, because we're not signing the paperwork. And I was like, well, if you don't sign the paperwork, then I'll just sign it next year when I can. Because at 17, you can self-certify or self-sign sort of thing. But I was 16 at the time, so I needed their consent. But then I went to school. And what ended up happening was, when I told them, they ended up bringing me into this like intervention. There was like 5 teachers in a room with me trying to convince me that joining the armed forces was a bad idea.
It's actually mental, isn't it?
They were saying, don't join the armed forces. I was like, why not? You're too smart. You should be going to university. Like, the plan was that you went to university. I can't go to university. I'm bored. And what I realised later was it wasn't only the academic thing. My parents didn't have the money to send me to university. We didn't have the money. Like, I didn't want to put that financial pressure on them. So
It's expensive, man.
yeah, it's expensive. So I chose something else, and I would say that was a better form of university for me at the time. That was better education, more in tune with what I needed as a young male at the time. I needed something
Guidance,
like
life
that.
skill.
Yeah, leadership.
Yeah.
Being around other people that are working towards something. There was a lot of good to be had from that period, and I got fucking strong. It really toughened me up, opened my eyes to the world and what was out there, and I'm very thankful for that time. But yeah, I could have ended up going to like a university. I mean, everyone wanted me to be a banker or an accountant. That was because I was like a math
all
genius.
ties down to money, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's what they think.
like but it was never gonna work out like that. It wasn't my personality.
I do have a quick question on the Marines as well. What was a main life experience for you through going through the Marines or that period of your life?
So I think the biggest change was between joining and then passing out of Royal Marines training. I joined the Royal Marines when I was 16. I was a young lad, no life experience. I was fit and strong for what I thought, but I was also a very, very fussy kid. I was used to having, like, food-wise, in terms of fussy, I was like very picky with what I ate. In fact, lots of foods used to make me feel sick, and to the point I couldn't eat them. I was also very lucky in the fact that I used to sleep a lot as a kid. I used to sleep 12, 13, 14 hours a day. I used to sleep all the time. I was a young kid, but I was enjoying the Marines, and all of a sudden I'm doing 4 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep. I was in for a culture shock. Also, my mum had kind of mothered us in a way that she did like the majority of the housework and stuff. So when I joined the Marines, I was like, hold on. All of a sudden I've got to do all this admin for myself, which I had no concept of because I hadn't lived on my own or anything like that. So I was learning all that. And the training just beat me down. It just beat me down really, really badly. I really struggled throughout the training. So I found it really tough, but I kind of got by being mentally strong and pushing through. In week 9, for instance, I was in hospital with a massive chest infection in training. I had to take 3 days out of training. I was on IV antibiotics in hospital, and then I had to do like a gym pass out on the Saturday, which I did. And then on the week of the commando tests, which are the final tests that you do in training, they're the final set of physical tests. You do 4 tests in 4 days. I woke up the morning of the first test with mumps. Right? Mumps. Have you heard of mumps?
No. I've heard of mumps.
So mumps is a virus, right, that was going around at the time. Like when we were younger, so you have like the MMR vaccine. When we were younger, there was like a cohort of people where it was missed. When we were younger, right, the first day. So at the time when I was passing out of Royal Marine or going through Royal Marines training, lots of people around this area were getting mumps, and I came home for the weekend, and I heard about this and blah blah blah. Anyway, I went back to camp, and I woke up for the morning of the first commando test, and every morning when you're in the Royal Marines, you wake up, go to the toilets, bathroom, have a shave, because you're in the armed forces, you have to shave every day, have a shower, go for a shit, get ready, right? So say shit, shower, shave every day, right? That's in the morning. That's the thing. So I was shaving, but I was sort of half asleep, and I just woke up. It's probably 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, or something like that. Put the shaving foam on my face, and I started to shave, right? But I was like, after like a couple of strokes, I was like, fuck, this feels weird. And I've got like quite a big chin. And normally I'm used to like having a corner that I'm shaving around. And as I was shaving, it was like smooth all the way down to like my chest. And I was like, what the fuck? So I looked in the mirror and my neck was swollen up like this.
Fuck yeah.
So my neck was fully swollen. And I was like, fuck. And I knew straight away. Because I knew that everyone had mumps, right? Yeah. And it makes your glands swell up. So like people's like testicles swell up and it can make them infertile. But my neck had massively swollen up and I had a really sore throat. And I was like, this is going to be a fucking long week. This is going to be hell. So I was shitting it a bit then. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to fare.
And this is the final test.
This is the final week of tests. There's 4 tests, really hard physical tests, back to back, one each day for them 4 days.
Can you get back trooped for stuff like that?
You can get back trooped.
Did they do back troop?
Yeah, you can get back trooped then. So you can get back trooped for that. So I was thinking, oh shit, I'm like...
For anyone watching, back trooped means like you get pushed back to the next group.
Yeah, so if you fail something, you get pushed back to the troop that's 2 weeks below you in training, and you do that revolution again, or further back if you're really struggling. So there's me waking up that morning thinking, oh shit, I'm in trouble here. Like, I know I'm not well. I know mumps is going to affect me physically. So I went onto the endurance course, and you set off on the endurance course in groups of 3. And the reason why you do that is because you go through a place on the endurance course called the sheep stip. Have you seen it on the adverts where one person stood at one end and the other end of the tunnel? You go underneath the tunnel and they push them under the tunnel.
You have to have the gun with you, didn't you?
Yeah, so you push them under the tunnel, right? And you take turns doing that. So you go as a group of 3 until you get to that point, and then you can run off on your own. So I went off in the second group of 3, and you go off at your speed timings, basically. So the fastest group go first, and then the second fastest group go second. So I was out of a group of 36, I was in the second fastest group. So we've gone off, and within like 50 metres, the lads are sprinting off, and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm in trouble. And they're like, Dale, hurry up, come on, hurry up, because I'm slowing them down. Right, you get timed on this course, and they have to stay with me for the first, I don't know, half a mile or something until we get to this place. So they're dragging me along, and the other group behind us are catching up. They set up a minute after us, and they're catching up. They're like, Dale, what the hell's going on? You need to hurry up. So we got to this place. We've done the putting each other under the water, and then they ran off. And then from that point, I think it's like about another mile, and then it's a 5-mile run back to camp. And you've got all your kit and your weapons and stuff. And as I was running back, just people just passing me. One after the next, after the next, after the next. Everyone was running past me, and I was like, I'm going to fail this. And there's nothing I can do. I was trying my hardest. I just couldn't move any faster. But I got to the end, and the PTI was stood there with his stopwatch. And he was looking at me as I come in, and like looking at his stopwatch. He was like, fucking hell, Hardiman, where have you been? And I was like, oh. I was like, not feeling great. He's like, right, get over there and get onto the range. And what you do is when you come off the endurance course, you've got a thing that you run through your weapon, which clears the barrel, and then you have to hit the target 7 out of 10 times or 8 out of 10 times or something. I can't remember. But then I'd realised I'd passed, right? I'd passed. And when I got my timing later on, I got in 72.5 minutes, and the cut-off point was 73 minutes. So I scraped through, and I was supposed to get round in 63 minutes. So I was basically just got round, about 10 minutes slower than what I should have done. And then obviously I had the rest of the week. And then halfway through the week after the Tarzan Assault course, my training team pulled me aside, and they was like, sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, by the way, my nose is a bit stuffy. But they pulled me aside and said, Dale, like, or recruit Hardiman, what's going on? We can see that you're struggling with the test, blah, blah, blah. We can see you look ill. Your face is swollen. like your neck's swollen. Like, what the fuck's going on? And I was like, loads of people in my hometown have got mumps. I think I've got mumps. And yeah, I've been feeling like shit all week. And they were like, okay, fine. What do you want to do? Do you want to drop off? Or do you want to carry on? I was like, well, obviously carry on. I was like, okay, cool. We didn't have this conversation. Just stay away from the lads in the shower. Yeah. So they were like, look, the responsibility's on you, mate. If you want to fucking die on exercise,
what would happen if you dropped off? Would you have picked up from that assault course or the next, or would you have had to do the whole 4 days again?
So if you voluntarily pulled off like that, you'd have to go and do the last 2 weeks again, which involved a long live firing package, which is hard, which I didn't want to do again, and the tests, I was never going to do that.
Yeah.
So then I only had one more test to go, and it was the 30 miler, and I knew that it would be difficult, but I knew that I'd get round. Like in my head, I was like, this is going to be hard. I'm going to take everything out of me, but I'm going to get round, and I did. I dragged my ass round. In fact, on the 30 miler, we took a wrong sort of turn, and we ran like a few miles in the wrong direction.
That's costly.
So then, on that sort of distance, in the gear, so we had to fucking run back the other way. And my corporal was like, "Sorry lads, I fucked up. I've misread the map," sort of thing. Which means we're going to have to run rather than walk.
Yeah.
We need to get a move on. So I was getting dragged around, thinking, I've got mumps. It's the end of the week, but that's the reason why that period was so important to me.
Yeah.
Because I knew exactly what it took for me, and then when I got my green beret at the end, there was like a sense of relief, but just like pride, right? It's just like, I can't believe I've done this. Like,
And you've done it through like a shitstorm.
through a shitstorm, right? Got through it, and nobody would have ever expected me to do that. If they knew me as a kid, they would have been like, they were a Royal Marine, no chance. And yeah, I knew how much it took for me, and it changed me a lot in the process. And then when I left training, I ended up becoming a very, very good Marine, right? I was able to eat better again. I was physically strong, mentally very robust, and it all started to fall into place. But the actual training course, it was hell. It was hard.
What's the difference between SAS training? Is that completely different?
Yeah, so SAS training is so the SAS and the SBS are the SRR. So these are the three special forces regiments within the armed forces, and they're commonly made up of paras and Marines and a couple of other regiments, really. Like they can pull people from all over the armed forces, but they're commonly made up of the ones that come from the harder regiments and the harder
So what
forces.
do you have to apply?
You
have to be a Marine and
you simply pass out of your basic training, do a few years, then apply. You do like a pre-joining course, pre-selection type week, pass that, and then you go on selection. There's like a period of 6 months training for it, which some people choose to do. Yeah.
Did you have no interest in doing
I did. Me and my missus, when I was in Afghanistan the second time, we split up, and I started to train for the SBS, which is the SAS and SBS. The training is almost identical. Just some of the continuation training is different. So you still do the hills, the jungle phase, and then the SEER training, but then you do the continuation training. Looks a little bit different. So I did apply for the SBS, and I was training really, really hard for it. But then me and my missus, who's now my wife and the mother of my kids, got back together. And I decided to leave at that point. So yeah, it would have been something really cool to do. Some of my mates went on to the armed forces, to the SBS, and some of my friends are still serving now, but they're coming towards the ends of their career.
Yeah,
which is crazy to think. Time's gone fast.
So how long they been in?
So some of the lads
10,
that come like
20?
it was almost 20 years. Yeah, 21 years. Some of them, and I would have been in now, I believe. So when I joined, 2009. So was that? No, 2005. Sorry, 2004 even. Yeah, a long time. 18 years. I would have been in now.
Yeah, that's mental.
But I left a long time ago. And Ant Middleton. I was in 40 Commando with Ant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I knew him as a young Marine, well before he joined the SBS. I was in Afghanistan with him.
I thought he was SAS.
What's SBF then?
So it's Special Boat Service. So
normally the Marines go to SBS and the paras go to SAS.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. So
which I didn't know that either.
The Marines are to do with water.
Well, yeah,
Sort of,
yeah. So most of the people in the SBS are former Royal Marines, and most of the people in the SAS are former paras. So it's a kind of cultural thing. Also, you can choose. As a Marine, you can go SAS, but lots of lads go to SBS. It's around people that they're normally around.
Same sort of
it's kind of familiar,
clicky.
right? Yeah, it's familiar.
Yeah.
So if you're a Marine, you're probably going to go to the SBS if you want to do that, unless you really hate the lads or something. Yeah, or no one likes you, and then you probably try and go to the SAS. But yeah, Ant was before he joined the SBS was at 40 Commando with me. I remember I was watching SAS Who Dares Win. So I was flicking through the channels in 2018 or something at home on a Sunday night, flicking through, And I saw like on the underneath like the TV, like the bottom of the screen, SAS who does wins. I was like, looks alright. I'll just watch that. So I started to watch it, and I was just like, this is a bit, bit weak, right? But then bit watered down. But it's like just kind of like standard stuff that lads do in normal training, right? It's not SAS level training, but then this like guy come on the screen with beard and black hair, and I was like, fuck. I swear that's Ant.
They must be mental.
They started talking. I was like, it fucking is him. It is him. And I was like, what's he doing on TV? And then even Foxy's from Harriet Regis.
Yeah, Charlie said that to me because he was like, try and get him on. But I was like, it's hard to try and get someone on that you got no.
Foxy's from Harriet Regis, mate.
He's quite a fucking big lad as well, isn't he?
Who?
Foxy.
Foxy's a lump.
Yeah, it's smart. I see him
Foxy's big
on some things, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this
they are big. They are big.
Foxy's an absolute unit, mate. He's a big, tall guy, and he's big, muscly guy as well.
Yeah.
He's a unit. He's the biggest out of all them lads. But Ant's kind of like 5'8",
and he's from Houghton Regis, yeah.
Foxy's from Harriet Regis.
Fuck, it's small.
Jesus, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Be a good one.
Mate, it'd be amazing. Yeah,
Why do you think the culture of like talking about the training and stuff is so like it's really frowned upon, isn't it?
about talking about special forces stuff.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to
well,
say, did
Special
you agree
Forces,
with that show?
Oh mate, they can do what they want.
Yeah, because some people look down on it.
Yeah,
don't
people do.
they?
Like, I know that I was speaking to someone who's a guy that's still in the SAS now, and he has been for the last 25 years. I was talking to him about it, and yeah, he says it's massively frowned upon, and lads look down on it. But Billy, for instance, who's on the SAS Who Dares Wins, he was Sergeant Major within Hereford in the SAS. He's a very well respected SAS operative, very well respected, and had a long career. Ant had a shorter career. Foxy had a semi-long career. So did Ollie. I mean, I just think lads should be able to do whatever they want, the hell they want when they leave. It's a different world now.
Yeah, we do live in
It's a different world now. It's much more engaged, like much more open. They're just maximising their opportunities in life. You know what I mean? They've
definitely created opportunities.
They've got a skill set, and yeah, it would have been really heavily frowned upon then when they first started doing it. I assume that the attitude towards it somewhat softened over a period of time because the world's so connected and like they're just promoting themselves online. Like,
Yeah.
just let them do their thing.
I suppose they've lived the life.
And they're good lads.
Because a lot of
They're
them
good
go
lads.
do armed security and that, don't they?
A lot of people from so that would have been the obvious choice for me when I left.
I watched some guy on Jocko Willet's podcast. I can't remember his name, but he was telling a story and it was just like, in Somalia, I'm like, an English guy, and I'm just like, this guy's gone through a madness.
You can't even fathom some of it. Even like
He's
when you were
like-
telling me about the ones on Jocko's podcast with the Vietnam. It's like
Some of them guys, I'm like,
stories are
you should not be alive.
Yeah,
like,
Jocko's got a good
like you
podcast,
should not be alive.
Yeah, people, they got 9 lives, don't they? Like, some people just.
Some of them ones in Vietnam, I'm just like, what you're telling me just sounds made up because it's like you're like a group of 5 running from like a 10,000.
Nah, mate,
And it's literally that
in a
real.
jungle.
In a jungle,
Yeah.
like you don't know where you're going.
I can almost guarantee that there's probably a lot of truth to these stories. I mean, maybe.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe there's some
100%.
exaggeration for.
But it's like every story was like mental. Like every story is like you've just escaped. You've just escaped. You've just escaped.
Oh,
Helicopter's
maybe.
just come down. I've just escaped.
Maybe
It's like,
I don't know. Who knows? who knows? But maybe. Maybe, mate. I mean, once again, like, I'm not going to say that. I don't know.
Nah, it
these
probably
people.
was that mad.
But maybe there is.
Vietnam, man.
Vietnam is a
It was
crazy place, and like we had some crazy stories from Afghanistan, and I spoke to a lot of lads that were special forces and just kind of in the Royal Marines that have had loads of even crazier stories from Afghanistan. So yeah, it's just mad. Like they are crazy places, right? It's a war zone. It's a war.
Yeah.
It's a war. We were having to ration rations when we were in a place called Kajaki. It was too dangerous for the helicopter to land. So we're like, look, lads, you're gonna have to start rationing rations because we can't get you a resupply. Bear in mind, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere in Afghanistan, and it's only us and the Taliban really around that area. This is like 2007, middle of the winter, really, really cold. You're like, lads, you're gonna
Is it really cold there? Yeah.
in Kajaki? It's freezing, yeah,
Fucking hell.
freezing.
A cold.
Cold, yeah, of cold winters, yeah. So, and we were like, that's just a bit shit. but and then eventually we got resupplied. What they end up doing is Hercules end up dropping the supply on parachutes essentially. Then we went out and secured it and brought it back. But I mean, we could have been, it could have been without food for a period of time.
Are you not just constantly like paranoid through the night and like
Not
you
at
said,
all.
like going to get a resupply? Like you're not just thinking,
Oh yeah,
there could be anyone anywhere.
There is that.
fucking-
Yeah, there is that. I mean, that does happen. So, but no, not paranoid. I remember at the time I was training to join the special forces, right? So when I was in Afghanistan, and in Kajaki, there's the forward operating base on the ground level, and then behind there's these kind of like mountains, and there's a dam out the back behind these 2 points that we use as fire support positions, and they have like a view of the whole valley. They can see everything. I used to go out on my own, out of the camp, right, and run up and down these mountains. What the fuck?
You used to go jogging outside the.
I had my weapon with me.
This is like
That's not
on my own.
one-man army.
On my own, but on my own, and my like team would know that I was gone.
And they were fine with you just
I'd
doing
be
that.
carrying weight up and down these mountains, right? And they were fine, and because the fire support position, had a view over
of
everything, right?
everything.
They can see everything. So I'm running up there, and they can see me, not always because I was running behind rocks and stuff, but someone could have easily shot me like when I was doing that.
Yeah.
Like it only takes someone to go, "What's that idiot doing?" and take a few shots. I remember when I was in Afghanistan.
Jogging.
First time I got shot at when I was in Afghanistan. We was in a place called Nowzad, and in Nowzad once again there's a fire support position on a hill, and it's just like a weirdest place. It's like a mound in the middle of nothing around you, right? This hill. But you can see everything around you, which is really good. It's a really good position for fire support. And then there was a forward operating base, just like in the town part of it. So we could see all that from where we were. But you could... So and the people that were there before us, for some reason, they built this gym right on top of the hill. So there's a pull-up bar and a couple of like make do sort of dumbbells that people made up of like concrete. And like a bench that was what was it? It's like made of like steel sort of pickets or something, like so people could do like a barbell. Right. So I said to the lads, like messing around, bearing in mind I was wearing like shorts, no body armor, nothing, no helmet, anything. I was like, lads, I'm just going to jump on the pull-up bar to draw some fire. Basically, get people to shoot at me. This like pissing around, messing around. I didn't actually think someone was going to shoot at me. So, and because I was basically pointing out like what a stupid position to put a pull-up bar right on top of a hill when there's enemy around. So anyway, I jumped up on this bar.
One minute. He goes, what a stupid position to put a pull-up bar on top of the hill. But I'm just going to go and do some pull-ups on it.
I said to the lads, I'm going to jump up on the bar to draw some fire. So, like, messing around, not actually thinking,
yeah.
I'm not thinking anyone's going to shoot at me, right? Even though we've been in contact and stuff, I'm like, no one's going to shoot at me. Like, so I jump up on this bar and I start doing pull-ups. I was like, 1, 2, like rounds coming around. I was like, fuck. So I jumped off the bar. Rounds were hitting off, like they had like 2 wooden poles and like a metal pole hitting off the wood. So I jumped down, and then the lads had already started engaging them. And then we smoked them obviously, but I was like, fuck.
You ever get stuck in
I was like,
hairy situations?
That was close. Like, but I was only messing around. I didn't expect it. So
You ever get stuck in hairy situations where you're bunkered down and that was?
there was some contacts. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, because obviously when I was going for your Insta, because you put a massive post up, I think, about when they just left Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Quite recently.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand it too well. Like you were saying about it being a Western dream. Like, do you have like a bad opinion of what they've done by leaving?
Yeah. I mean, I think that probably it was always going to come to an end at some point. I've got mixed feelings about it. I feel like probably it's a waste of many lives. Also, as well, you go into this place. They were the reason why we went into Afghanistan in the first place, as far as we know, right, was because the Taliban at the time were allowing for Al Qaeda to live and operate from Afghanistan, and Al Qaeda are a terrorist organisation who were responsible for the 9/11. So basically, we went into Afghanistan. Apparently, I don't know if this is necessarily the truth. I don't know what the fucking truth is anymore. But we went there to stop that from happening. Right. So as far as the lad's concerned, like that's the deal. And at the same time, we removing the Taliban from power, right? Because the Taliban were very much ruling with an iron fist. People were dying in the streets. People were getting hung for stupid things. Women couldn't have education, stuff like that, right? Now, we were there. We were fighting the Taliban. Al Qaeda went away, but we put in a democratic government into Afghanistan. The government that the West have put into a country, right? Which just sounds crazy anyway. And West have done that plenty of times, but we should put this government into Afghanistan, and women started to have education again, and the situation started to improve economically and stuff, prospects. And then obviously it got to the point where funding was obviously a little bit tight, and they're like, this is not on our agenda anymore, we don't need to be here. And you just pull out. And I just felt bad on two counts. One, for the people of Afghanistan who now have to deal with the Taliban and go back to, they had this taste of a better life. And before Russia, the Russian war in the 80s with Afghanistan, Afghanistan was a very kind of up and coming society, right? Good education, a lot of culture there. And that war changed it, and then Taliban were then eventually in power, and then they've been removed, and now you've got a government, a democratic that people vote for, and things are improving, education's improving, health's improving, prosperity's improving. And then we just go, all right, fuck it, we're out of it. And we pull out. And then I start thinking, like, what was the point of all the people that lost their lives as well, fighting this war, if you're just going to pull out? Like, I believe that probably you needed to pull out at some point, but there needs to be a better transition, and the Afghani forces needed to be better trained. And they were never, no matter how much you've done with them, they probably were never going to be up to the task. And then I think about my friends that lost their lives in Afghanistan, and my best friend died in Afghanistan. So I think about that, and I think, fuck, it's a waste of life. Yeah, and that's where my feelings on the situation come from.
Yeah, no.
They left a lot of shit there as well.
Well,
a lot of equipment, just a lot of.
I mean, it's too expensive to get out, right? And I sort of understand. I mean, the world economy right now is in a shit state, and
it's expensive to get out, but then it equip them with more.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Basically, we're not going back there. It's probably the.
It's just like,
but yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I spent 13 months of my life in Afghanistan. I put my life on the line to fight there, and I don't feel hard done by personally. But yeah, like I say, I lost my best mate out there, and a lot of people are, now suffering as a result. Now, my view on things is that we probably shouldn't go into a lot of these countries in the first place. Like, it's not our role to police these countries. It's certainly not our job to put governments into these countries, and that's my opinion at the moment. But I don't know, man. We've got. There's obviously war going on at the moment, right? Ukraine, Russia. Yeah. That's all going down. We'll see where that goes. I wouldn't be surprised if, we get pulled further into it.
Is that what you think is going to happen?
I don't know what's going to happen. I think
it's mad because sometimes I forget there's a war going on.
Yeah,
it's just like
you hear about what they want to push.
Just a narrative.
Yeah, I mean, the media control the narrative, right? So the narrative.
I don't even understand it.
The narrative here is that Ukraine's the victim, and that Putin's the bully, and that Ukraine are beating down Russia in terms of like winning the war. And obviously we're funding Ukraine's operations and giving them weapons and training and stuff. But who knows what the real narrative is, right? Like, who knows what the actual agenda is? Who knows what we do know is that Ukraine want to be a member of the of NATO, and Putin doesn't want Ukraine to be a member of NATO because he doesn't want rockets pointed at Russia, right next to the border, which I understand. There's also like a lot of speculation about kind of like the financial situation in the States and worldwide, and how that's tied into the war and stuff. But I don't know enough about it to kind of talk about it. But I assume it's all more complex than what we get, and the media in any country is always going to have a role to control whatever narrative they need to put across. And often the narrative is, we're good guys, they're the bad guys. Or, I suppose a lot of the media at the moment, always, I would say, is, I believe the news is just a weapon to keep everyone slightly oppressed and in a fearful state. That's my view on the news. I think that there's never any good news, right? Despite,
I feel like it'd make you more sick. Like,
the news?
Yeah.
The news is designed to
stress,
to keep people stressed, right? And you can't ask deeper questions when you're in survival mode, and you can't be creative when you're in survival mode. So let's put lots of people in survival mode, and control them as a result. And you control people through fear. So that's my missus tells me, like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, no, look, I'm just saying, like, when have they ever put out any good news?
Yeah.
Like, when they ever, and they do occasionally to cheer us up for a day, and then they go back to like making us feel like shit. So I don't watch the news.
Sit there, she'd just be like, and I'm like, you don't understand, that's wasted energy.
Especially when it was the COVID run, it got bad over the COVID.
I don't watch the news as a result of that. I know what's going on in the world because people tell me. I don't need to watch the news.
If it was that important, you would find out.
I don't need to watch
enough.
the news.
Yeah.
So I have conversations with people about stuff, and I learn, and I'll read stuff. But I'm not sitting there going, like, my missus likes to watch it, and that's her thing. She's interested in it. I'm like, I just don't like it. It just pisses me off, to be honest. And that's the whole
I feel
point.
like it's like research though. You could probably go find your own news. You don't need that outlet telling you their agenda.
You've got loads of media outlets now. Yeah, there's loads of opportunities to consume news, right?
What's right, what's real.
Yeah. So I'll stay away from it as much as I can, but you can't avoid it. So, yeah, like there's loads of stuff going on in this country at the moment. And obviously, politically, got the elections in America today, which is going to influence the political landscape out there. There's lots going on around the world, but
yeah, we do live in pretty bad times.
Crazy times.
Reynolds was telling me the other day as well, you're into crypto and NFTs.
Yeah.
And obviously this man is...
Of course you would be.
the crypto man right here.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it for? Have you been into investing before, or...?
I do, yeah. I do like very basic investing in terms of like I put money into an index fund.
Yeah.
So I can retire at some point. Like, so I put a certain amount each month into an index funds. But yeah, I started getting interested in crypto probably 2017. More like, this coin's supposed to be good, and I knew about Bitcoin in 2013. I've got like WhatsApp messages from my brothers. We're talking about it, and we're like, there's this digital currency, and we're like, it sounds like a scam. So like, this is when it was like, I don't know how much it was, $200 or something, and then obviously it went to 65, whatever it did, $65,000. But last year, but yeah, 2017, I started buying bought some like XRP and then I bought some sheep, but I never really gambled. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then last year I started to look into it a bit more, and I watched the crypto market really like pump, mainly from the sidelines. Really, I started getting, and I also watched the NFT market start to really take off, and I watched some of the big mints happen, and then those pump really heavily, like Bored Ape, etc. And I was like, you know what, I fancy a bit of this action, so I got involved. Yeah, and I spent the last year in that market learning it. We released an NFT project earlier this year to support another project. This Psychedelics Anonymous, we released one to support that. More of a community incentive. Like it's not designed to generate profit for us, but it's designed to provide value
for the community.
For the community, but we've done really, really well.
Yeah.
So we sold a lot. And
you're an NFT then? So what?
I've got my own NFT. I mean, I'll happily send you one.
Yeah.
Happily send you one.
And what do you do with psychedelics?
So Psychedelics Anonymous is not our project. We set up a project called the PA Club, which is almost like a Psychedelics Anonymous supporters club. Like what we do essentially is we do a few things, but one of the things we do is we take the mint funds from selling ours and buy floor assets of Psychedelics Anonymous, and then we hold them in our wallet and we raffle them back to our holders over a period of time. So it does a few things. It rewards the people that mint. They can win a Psychedelics Anonymous Genesis, which is a really nice NFT. Also, it stabilizes the floor price of Psychedelics Anonymous, which I'm invested in, and which loads of people were invested in. So we like sort of protecting that project from afar. And doing some stuff for their community to celebrate and promote it, but also doing our own thing, providing loads of value for our community as well. So it's just something I want to do, get stuck into, and want to get involved in.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. You've gone deep into it.
Yeah.
I'm deep in
But
it.
it's like him. He's gonna get deep into it.
I don't do
Yeah,
like,
he's not going to be half-hearted. He ain't dabbling a toe in.
I don't do like I do get involved in stuff when I do it, but now at the moment it's running very, very, very well. We've got like a good core team in place, so it's not as time consuming as it was for me when I first started it, but it still takes up a bit of time, but it's good fun. Met some really good people. I was in London last week.
I was going to say, because that's deep into crypto, isn't it? Like, you actually got nitty gritty into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm involved, man. I like it.
What does Psychedelics Anonymous actually do?
So they do a lot of things, but essentially a guy called Voltoro, who's the guy that started it, he's building what he envisions to be a huge Web3 brand. One of the things they do is they help to support and fund research in psychedelic therapy for mental health conditions.
Yeah, I'm invested in a company from Canada called Mind Medicine.
Yeah, exactly. So they've donated stuff to Mind Medicine to help with their charity, to help with their research. So they support that. So they're involved in research, but also they do a lot of other Web3 stuff, which is like there's been a lot of airdrops. They've built merchandise, holders events. They're bringing value. They're building a marketplace at the moment. And they're releasing a token soon for their holders. They're building a lot of stuff. They've also got some technology which is like wear to earn technology. So basically, you wear a piece of clothing, and you earn money by wearing it.
See, it's mental in this space.
It's all technical. It's like they're trying to push the technology as far as they can.
Yeah.
So they're very, very good, very, very good brand, but also really good community, good leader, and one that I wanted to support, and one that community. I like it. I'm a healthcare professional. Now I'm very interested in how we can improve healthcare outcomes for people. That project spoke to me on those terms, but like I don't think psychedelic therapy is the be all and end all in terms of like helping people with mental health conditions. I think there's a much more of a kind of multi-faceted approach to helping people with these conditions. It's a step, but it's still a passive step, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I just believe that whenever you're truly going to help someone, it can't be passive. There has to be action from them in order to make the change that's going to be sustainable. Like it's psychedelic therapy. The early stage research on it is favourable. It looks good, but it's still a passive intervention. It's a drug that someone takes, for instance. So we need to encourage other behaviours as well.
I feel like it's good at opening people up to their core. Well, that's the good thing about it. It can bring you to actually want to help yourself.
Yeah,
I do need this next step.
100%. I think that's kind of one of the things about it. But yeah, that's how I got involved in it, and
it's sort of like your osteopath, of though. Like there's one step, but then there's so many more steps.
Yeah, and I think
helping people.
I think the it's better than the alternative as well, and I think the alternative at the moment, in terms of the current management of mental health complaints, is atrocious.
Silly.
It's fucking.
It don't work.
It's terrible. Like you can't give someone a SSRI and stick them on that for life. You think that's not helpful.
No.
Yeah. That's not the solution. You're not solving anything, right? You just and my problem is that with basically every condition within healthcare or within health is that most things are overdiagnosed. So because someone's sad for a prolonged period of time doesn't mean they're depressed. They might be depressed. They might have clinical depression, right? But it doesn't mean they're depressed. It doesn't mean they need something. They might just be sad for a prolonged period of time, right? Someone might have back pain and it's causing pain into their leg, and you do a scan and there's a disc prolapse. Now, that doesn't mean that disc prolapse is the cause of pain. And also, it doesn't mean that that's going to prevent them from recovering from pain either. It doesn't mean that that disc prolapse specifically has to be treated. Because if you scan people that have pain and don't have pain, and you look at the findings on the MRI of both groups, the scan findings are comparable. They look almost identical. So there's lots of people walking around with multiple disc prolapses with no pain at all. And that's very, very clear. So most things are overdiagnosed in medicine. And I feel like giving people a label on a lot of occasions is actually harmful for their recovery. You basically give them something that they can tie to their identity, that they can take ownership over. And they say, look, it gives them an excuse. I can't do this because I've got this condition or this illness, or my back can't recover because I've got a disc prolapse. But when you actually said to them, look, actually, you've just got non-specific mechanical low back pain. And when you scan people that have got non-specific mechanical low back pain, a certain percentage of them are going to have disc prolapses. Your disc prolapse doesn't correlate with your pain. You can recover. It's a different message to saying you've got a disc prolapse. End of.
Yeah.
Right? All of a sudden you've gone from, hold on,
We need
I'm
more
okay,
deep fingers.
I'm okay, and then, or, oh shit, I'm in trouble, right? And it's if you create that response from someone, they're not going to be proactive about recovery. If they don't believe anything they do is going to help, and if they think that they're damaged and further moving or further taking action is going to cause further damage, they're gonna not do it, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to impact their outcome. So when a medical professional says to someone, you should never run again, which was my advice post-surgery when I had my hip surgery, I was told I should never ever run again. Now, to a large majority of people, they will never run again. And they'll come to me 10 years later saying, I got told by the hip surgeon that I should never run again. I'm like, bullshit.
I don't know why. There's a lot of them stories.
We're
as
just
well,
setting
isn't
cap.
there? I don't know why they do
there's
that.
A lot of them stories.
So many.
There's a couple of reasons why they do it. One, if you're scared yourself, if you're a scared practitioner and you're worried that you're going to like send this people away and they're going to get injured or something like that, you'll create fear in them as well by your attitude.
Because you just don't trust your ability.
You create a fearful patient. The second thing is that surgeons that give this advice often, they've got no understanding of how rehab even helps people. They only understand what they do. They're part of it. They don't have a understanding of the ecosystem of how people recover.
That's what I was saying to him before. It's like, say for you, you're passionate about your job. You actually love it. You want to help people. Where some people, it's just a job.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I was good at this. I just done it, and
I want to help people recover, man.
Yeah.
I don't want people to be fucking stuck doing nothing when they don't have to. Like, people can recover from these symptoms. It just takes a bit of effort, right? It takes the right education, it takes the right message, it takes the right practitioner to say to them, look, no, you can do this, but it's going to be hard work. You can do this. Like, you're in pain now. It's going to take you a while. You need to stick at it. You need to be consistent. The reason why you're not recovering is because you're trying things, right? I hate that. I hate when people say to me, there's nothing worse. Someone comes in, I said that I've tried this, this and this. And I was like, what do you mean by tried? And I had one session of acupuncture. I had, I tried to do some stretches for a week, and I'm like, that shit's you're not gonna get anywhere. Like, there needs to be a treatment plan, something you can follow over a period of time that's progressed, right? So say, for instance, you come in with back pain tomorrow. Oh, I'll hurt my back deadlifting. Like, the week one exercises are not getting you back to deadlifting.
no, it's simple. Yeah.
Doing a few like stretches like cat-cow is not going to get you back to deadlifting. Like, you need to build up that tolerance again to get back to deadlifting. So everyone's like, I tried the exercises and they didn't work. I'm like, what exercises did you try? And they're like, oh, I did, this. And I'm like, come on, like, you want to run a marathon and these exercises won't even get you to 5K. You can't run a marathon unless you've trained for it.
Yeah.
You had the tissue tolerance in your body to handle high loads of stress, force, etc. before the injury. You now need to build that tolerance back up. It's not just going to happen by itself.
It's a long process.
It's not even a long process. It's just a process.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It can be quite a short.
But I feel like it's a boring process, isn't it? Sometimes.
It's boring, but it can be. But what people don't realise is a lot of the time, you can be in pain and still be training, albeit within a few confines of rules, right? And that's what people like us understand. That I often have people that come see me. They haven't trained in months. I'm like, right, back to the gym this week. Like, right, back to the gym. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm still in pain. I was like, yeah, fine. We're gonna have some strict rules around training, but we need you back. We need you back exercising. like doing the exercise is part of your recovery. Like if you want to get back to lifting weights, we're gonna have to get you lifting weights again, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're not going to just have you like lying on the counter stretching you. That's not going to get you back to lifting weights. No amount of me lifting your leg off is getting you back to lifting weights.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Something that
You need to
you've
lift
already
weights.
been doing as well.
That's it. Yeah.
But we'll finish off with the question of the pod because obviously
Yep.
we've kept you for nearly 2 hours now.
That's all right, man.
But
I've enjoyed it. It's been good.
your most euphoric moment in life so far?
Other than your kids.
Single moment. Yeah. So obviously my
other
children.
than the kids.
Well, yeah, my children.
Everyone does come in and they always go for the kids.
Yeah, I don't think it probably weren't my children. No, it's different. Like the first kid was like, it was quite traumatic. There was a lot going on with the birth, so that was a different kind of moment. Without thinking it's shit. Like, but my daughter, there was more of a euphoria when she was born. But no, I don't think it was. I think single. I mean, I think probably the single most euphoric moment is probably. I don't know. When I used to win MMA fights, that was ultimate euphoria. My single proudest moment would be passing out of Royal Marines training, but it wasn't like a single moment of euphoria.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I had a good answer. I'm trying to think what was the most important fight that I won. I mean, I knocked out this guy in Cage Warriors. The guy was due to sign for the UFC, and I knocked him out. And that was just after I didn't quite make it onto the Ultimate Fighter. So that was pretty cool. And that was on Sky Sports. So it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there is one, but I can't
You've
really
had
think.
loads of moments.
Yeah, I can't really think. Yeah.
Each moment will be in its life different.
Different. There's all like different bits.
moments for every
Euphoria, yeah. I don't know. Like finishing my first Ironman was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's mental, man. And
That's pretty cool.
Ironman is fucking.
It was alright.
That's pretty cool. Because that was like, I was like,
You have too many.
yeah. But no,
Yeah, they're
but,
too
I mean,
many, but they're just like.
I haven't though, because I'm not any different to anyone, man. I just like doing stuff.
Yeah,
and I
he's
try.
sort of like
I-
Matty Spring.
I
just
try-
humble.
Yeah,
You're so
I try-
humble.
But it reminds me of,
I
like,
try
when Liam
hard.
George was like,
Yeah.
what moment? He was like, when I think of my kids, it's my kids. When I think of when I used to
just
score,
different.
score goals, it was scoring goals. It's like, I just got a moment for each
Yeah, it just feels different,
part
I don't
of
know.
your life.
I mean, it's quite cool when people recover from pain. You know what I mean? Like when people get back to doing stuff. That's cool. That keeps me doing the job.
Yeah.
I think there's loads of different things, and I just like doing stuff, and I'm always going to learn and continue to learn, and I'm always going to continue to push myself. I'm not very comfortable with not trying. I'm a trier, and I'll work hard at things. So there's plenty of stories to come, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's just still young, right? So it's like there's loads to come, but I just don't know where it's going to go. Life's funny. It just takes you down these rabbit holes.
Yeah, he
Like,
does.
it just takes you down, like using podcasting, man. This could in a year's time you could be fucking really famous. I mean, it could. You don't know how. You don't know how quick it.
Things to scale.
But
It's
like
gotta
you
be-
said, like you're looking for opportunities. You're keep getting the ball rolling.
Yeah,
so
I'm
it's
paying
like-
attention.
Yeah,
I'm like listening. I'm
Yeah.
engaging with people. I like people. I enjoy spending time with people. So I think that helps. But yeah, I'm not any different to anyone else. I just like doing stuff, and I've just done things differently to some people. Like I could have gone into a job, just being a banker, and just done that.
I don't think
career.
that's
It
you,
wouldn't have been
like-
right. It would have been a waste of a person.
It would have been.
Do you know what I mean?
It would have been wrong for me.
Yeah.
but I could have done that, and some people do that, and I'm not saying that that's not the right or wrong thing to do. Like some people would be like, yeah, but I've got more money than you. I'm like,
It
yeah,
just wasn't
but,
right for you.
But like that's
Yeah, but
cool.
accumulating money is just one.
That's just
part.
one thing. That's one thing, right? Money's fine, but like, yeah, if I was a banker, like my uncle, well, not my uncle, my dad's cousin, a banker, and he retired like at a young age, and I spoke to him at my dad's funeral, right? And he was like, I said, oh mate, how's it going? Chatting to him, and he's like, I was like, what are you doing for work nowadays? He goes, I don't work. I was like, don't you? He's like, no, working's for the working class. and he's a working class guy, right? He's taking the piss, but he went into banking. He retired well early, and I'm like, I was like, you fucker. Working's for the working class. I was like, yeah, no, you've probably got a point, mate. You've probably got a point, but yeah, that was it.
But just a quick one on the Tates again. Do you find it funny when you're looking at all this shit about him?
Well,
Being so like close with him?
I still speak to the Tates. So,
It's mad that they've blown up.
yeah, mate, I didn't realise they were blowing up, right? So people kept tagging me in Top Sheet videos, in Tate videos, right? People kept tagging me, and I just assumed there were people that knew that I knew Tate, right? So I just thought, they're tagging me like because it's a funny video or whatever. Then I realised it was just random people tagging me. You know when people tag you in the video,
Yeah.
and they don't even know I know him.
Yeah.
And so then I messaged him. I said, mate, like, people keep tagging me in your videos. I had no idea you was blown up. And he goes, his reply was, yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. And I was like, yeah. So just chatting to him about that. But yeah, I mean, obviously they've had this whole cancellation thing recently, but you can't cancel Andrew Tate and
Fair play to
all
him,
he stands for,
Yeah, fair play to
and
him.
all the people that I love it. I love seeing it. It's amazing.
It's nice to see people from Luton as well. Just
100%.
like
So
they've
many
gone
people
somewhere.
doing positive things.
Yeah, there's
it's
so
good.
many. That's why it was when
We didn't realise it until we started doing.
No, yeah, exactly.
Mate, Luton's a hotbed of energy, mate.
Yeah,
even doing
it
that
is.
run
It's a
hotbed of energy.
even doing that run last week, and obviously all the communities there, and like you got people on the stage, and that it's like, bro, it's mental. It's like
You think
it's
about
good.
how many like professional fighters at the minute, professional footballers, this, that. Like, there's just so much going on.
There's loads, mate. It's a
So
real
much
hotbed of
going
talent, mate. A real energy, and it's something about this kind of growing up around here that makes people a certain way. But yeah, seeing Tate go like that. I mean, Tate's the hardest worker in the room, right? He's that guy. He's that guy. He's that guy. He will fucking work his ass off, and he's obviously very articulate, clever, and very quick-witted and good. His brain's very sharp. He can communicate very well. So these things help. He looks good as well. I mean, all these things help, and he's an absolute killer, right?
He knows how to play it as well. He knows how to He knows how to play the internet.
Killer. He knows how to play the internet.
Yeah.
He understands that.
It's just a game, isn't it?
How to create controversy. How to. He understands how to market. Right. There's a thing in marketing called an attractive character. An attractive character is a personality type that people portray online in order to attract people. It's your online persona. Attractive character. It's a well-known thing in marketing. Now Tate's got that nailed.
He has.
He knows exactly how to.
Because he's actually got an army of like
Mate,
people.
he's got a loyal army of people.
Well, you feel like he was the most famous man in the world.
I mean, it's
How like think about that? He's the most famous man.
I mean,
in the world.
He still is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He still
That's
is.
like
Still relevant.
mental.
Yeah.
Like he's all over
Like-
TikTok and he's not on TikTok. He's never
Yeah.
even started a TikTok. People love him. Every day he's on my TikTok.
He's very famous. I see his stuff all the time, like people. But yeah, it's mad. Yeah, but
Fair
it's
play,
good.
man. He set the bar, innit? Just
And there was a
what you
gap
can
in the
get.
market for what he was offering. That
Masculinity,
work hard,
yeah.
don't thingy, and because people kind of felt like they needed that at the minute. It feels a bit weird. Everyone feels a bit where it's so easy. Everyone's more down, and they needed that. Like,
Yeah.
there was just that gap.
That's
in the
like we're going
market
back to
for-
old ways, isn't we? Getting out in the open, going for a walk,
good.
getting more
Yeah.
sleep, getting an ice bath. Make yourself uncomfortable.
It's a positive message, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and like
for sure,
for
yeah.
especially for men, it's a positive message for men. Probably a message that many men need. Because the world's a fucking crazy place.
He knows.
It's crazy.
Go down
It's
that
a crazy place, and people are soft as fuck. And
I think
and-
you put it on your Insta story.
Yeah, I mean, people
You're
are
like, who else
soft.
thinks the world's going soft?
Mate, people are soft, and like it's not necessarily their fault. It's just the way it's gone, and kind of the values that have been instilled in people, etc. But we need to, as men, build some resilience to these stresses and strains, because we're not resilient to them, and we're not gonna get very far, are we? No. Like, we need to be able to deal with the turmoil and stuff. We can't fall apart. We can't crumble. We can't
Yeah,
just.
but I feel like this is where you grow most from doing shit you don't like. That's
100%.
why you can look at all the stuff you've done. Like, I just do stuff that I don't like because I know it benefits me more.
I don't like. There's loads of stuff that I do that I didn't. I mean that I do it specifically because it's hard. Like, because I know it's going to be painful, and I know but I know that I'm going to get better as a human as a result, right? Like, people think, why are you doing that? I'm just like, because you ain't doing it. like no one else wants to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, that's it really.
But I think that's a perfect point to finish it.
You like
Dale,
the-
thank you for coming on, man.
You like
I really
the Jocko
appreciate it.
Luton, man?
Yeah,
You know,
the Jocko
Oh,
Luton.
yeah, maybe I need to start talking more.
right? I think you should. 100%.
Yeah, well, I am. I am
Leadership
actually
or
planning
something.
to. I've got some plans to do some stuff. soon. So yeah, you probably see me talking.
You've got a
bit
resume. You've been through it. Like you've done a lot of stuff. Like I said, and people are suffering.
Yeah.
That's
More. Oh
why
yeah, people are suffering. Yeah, I mean, like I kind of got a lot of thoughts around health and stuff that I'd like to get out there. But I've got a lot of experience in different areas. So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm trying.
I feel like,
What my thing is at the moment, like my next steps. I'm trying to think. What is it I want to achieve? What is it I want to? What message do I want to put out there? But yeah, I'll start talking soon. Yeah, for sure.
100%, and I'll link all your stuff down as well, down below for anyone that wants to find you. I'll put your personal Insta. You have an Insta for Hardiman Performance.
I have
as
an
well.
Insta for Hardiman
So I'll link
Performance
all
as
of
well,
that down there, and people go ahead and check him out. And yeah, it's been another banger.
It's been a pleasure, lads.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's been good. I enjoyed it, man.
But
You got a cool little setup going on there.
Yeah, in the room,
It's
in the
like-
bedroom.
mate, it's perfect. It's perfect
You weren't
setup.
even thinking.
Nah, it's 'cause
when you-
No, it's good. It's good, mate. It's good.
Online, it just and now we just
It's just a
leave
room, right? And
Yeah.
online, ideal. You've got, it's perfect.
My bed's literally there. Like I've just
jumping.
Mate, you're making good use of the space.
may as well. I can't.
Yeah.
We're not buying a studio, and
Not yet.
it looks like a
Money,
studio to everyone else there.
Hey, this is the studio.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So,
It is a studio.
but no, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And,
I appreciate it.
peace, people.